Yes, family tree. Wagwan, wagwan. Happy new day to each and every one of you. It's your boy Jedi for Jedi Online, Trilluminati Live, and Red Pill Trill. And yes, we're back on Trilluminati Live. Everyone on Jedi Online, come over to Trilluminati Live. And yeah, man, come say wagwan. I'll be back on the main live stream channel. I'm gonna leave Jedi Online for I'm gonna leave that on streaming for a little while, so people that come over there and have been getting used to us being over there come over this side. You get me? Big up Spice, big up Troublesome Trill, big up Dublin's Trillist Pacifier, big up Flame, Soldier, B Rika Trill. Hope everyone's good, man. Woy. Yeah, man. So we back in the building over on D-sides. Happy new day, man. Hold on. Let me just... Yo, it is baking, as you all know. I don't need to tell you. I don't need to tell you how hot it is out here, man. I need to tell you. Get me. Yeah, man. Spice, Flame, go over. Yeah. Go over to Trilluminati Live. Hold on. Let me just be live. Let me get the link from this video. You know what I'm saying? Hold on. Yo, it's baking. Oh my God. It is so hot. Fucking hell, mate. It's not a joke. My God. Right. Share. Copy. Over here. Copy that into that. Just putting a link out there. Bear with me, family tree. Boom. That's that done. Let's go over to here. Yeah, man. Big up Jupiter, like number 17, like number 11, Raw, Trilly Beats, big up yourself. Western Goddess, big up. Hope everybody is cool. Let me put the link out there so you lot could jump on, start a little conversation. Yesterday's conversations were amazing. Do you know what I mean? You got blocked? Nah, we can't have that, Silverback, man. We can't have that. I'ma sort that out, yeah? Yeah, I'ma sort that out. Don't you worry about that, King. Big up yourself. Welcome aboard and all that. Big up Sash, like number 18. Ah, man, boy. Sweating my fucking nuts off here. Hold on. Right, big up Misunderstood. Hold on. Yeah, man. So yeah, look, the link's there. Come jump on, come chat to me. Let's start the morning proper. Big up Hards 101, like number 14. I was wondering where's Silverback, man. I was wondering where the hell is Silverback? Where have you been? But we know where you are now, so we got you, bro. Everyone on Jedi Online, Hards 101, come over, hit the link in blue, yeah, and come over to Trilluminati Live. You see where it says we live on Trilluminati Live? Click that link and come over, man, and link up with everyone else. All the people watching on Jedi Online, be over on the other channel, man. Yeah. So what we saying, man? What we saying? Obviously, what's the latest, man? What's the latest? What have I missed? What's been going in? There was something I wanted to finish watching, you know. Remember that thing we was watching about the racism in Britain or something? Where's that video? Where's that video? Let's see. See if I can find that one. Is it going to be in my library? Yeah, I'm not going to be able to stream for long because, boy, I am fucking baking, man. Come on, man. I'm going to have to, like, come back in the evening. I'll do it up to, like, lunchtime or something. And come back in the evening because this is ridiculous, man. All right, let's check the library. Let's see if I can find the video that I was watching. See, ooh. Bear with me, family. I got, yeah, this is it.
Positive mindset.
All right, cool. We'll play a little bit of this. Wait for you lot to jump on. Jump on, man, family. Come through, man. Big up Chevelle. Big up Sash. All right, let's go.
It was also, obviously you can all see the scars and stuff.
So this young man was walking down the road and well, do you know what? I'll let you tell him. I'll let him tell his story in his own things. I mean, whatever. I'm gonna start it again. I'm gonna show you look what happened to him. I'm gonna start it from scratch.
Why you call me black? I'm not a cunt, mate. I'm not a cunt, mate.
Wow. At the time I took the video, racial abuse was quite a new thing to me because I never had any first-hand experiences. I literally would only hear about it. But as time went on, and with social media, cases like this are nothing new. And I hear about it basically every other day. 2 decades ago, Stephen Lawrence was killed literally right over there. And it was a race-fueled attack.
Yes, Troops, work one.
Yeah, Stephen Lawrence Memorial there. That's where I live around there by there. Nice
yeah.
area.
You live right by the near, what's it? Is it right by the bus stop then?
No, I don't live like literally that street, but I live in Eltham. Yeah.
No, not you. I mean, like, is the memorial right by the bus stop?
It's a little bit further up. It's because he ran away. It's where he actually died. So he ran up the hill. Yeah. Yeah. He didn't realise how seriously injured he was, did he?
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah. It's a deep one, but you know, many years ago, there's been no quote unquote justice, has there? No one's ever been convicted, have they?
No, they did. They went back, didn't they? They did it on Double Jeopardy. So they got I think they've got 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah.
But they don't think they'll be able to ever get the rest. Yeah.
And the 2 or 3 of them got life.
I'm not sure what they got, but they did finally get justice. It was around. Oh, what year would it have been now? 2012, 13, 14, around that time. Finally did them under Double Jeopardy.
Double Jeopardy law. I kind of remember.
Go back with new evidence, and they found new evidence with the jacket. I think it was a jacket. They found DNA there.
But didn't one of them make like a confession in a prison cell to his cellmate or something like that? Or he was recorded in his prison cell, kind of confessing about it.
I'm not sure about that because, as far as I know, there was a wall of silence from them. None of them ever spoke about it, so I don't know about that bit. But you might be telling the truth. I've just never heard that bit.
All right, so yeah, this is a small little documentary. How safe is it to be black in Britain? Now, I know it's a bit of a sensational title, but from the perspective of many people who have been, you know, the subject or the victim of what they perceive to be a racial attack or assault or whatever, racial violence, you know, they obviously won't think that it is safe to be black in Britain, you know. What do you think? Do you think it's safe to be black in Britain from your perspective?
Yeah, but in general, yes.
Yeah.
Do I think there's still incidents of racism? Of course. But yeah, no, I think that it's generally safe.
Yeah,
I think you're always going to get some black people who are afraid to go to what they see as predominantly white areas, and you're always going to get some white people that are afraid to go to where what they see as predominantly black areas. I mean, I know white people that would never go to Brixton or Peckham. They're terrified of it. Yeah, I have no problem just going there and whatever.
From what they've heard.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, I would feel that as a black man, I would understand black people's apprehension to go to Brixton and Peckham, but I'm not really sure why white people will be apprehensive, because in my opinion, they don't really seem to be under threat by black folks, or even those that might be violent or whatever. I don't think they even look at white folks as targets. I think it's more young men and stuff that need to be worried.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. I just think it's perceptions that other groups have of an area. Something bad happens and then it stays there for a long time. I mean, I know that. Yeah, I know that when me and Hector went to Brixton one time, and he wasn't actually with him. I met him there. He was already there. We'd gone to visit a friend that lived there, and his friend had to pop into the office because his friend was a solicitor, yeah, and his friend had gone round the corner to the office, and Hector had walked around with him, and they said, "Oh, come round and meet us." So I walked round there, and there was a barber shop, this barber shop opposite, and I remember as I walked down the street, the barber shop came out, including the women that had been hanging around outside talking to them, and that, all sort of like staring. I thought, what's this all about? Well, why? And I remember thinking at the time, is it because I'm white or what? Because I can't see any other reason. You know what I mean? You know, that was one of the very few times that I've ever thought, is it because I'm white? No. You know that sort of feeling you just get. You think it must be just because I'm white. I'm not doing anything odd. I'm not wearing anything odd. I'm not involved in anything. I'm just walking, you know. Yeah. But other than that, no, I've never really felt it. But I know other people that I know, you know, when I've said before that I've worked in Peckham and that, they go, Peckham? How can you work in Peckham? You know, people get shot there and they get stabbed there all the time, you know.
They do, man. You know, there's definitely a very low risk. I think that's in a lot of areas, but yeah, I mean, there's a very low risk of that kind of violence affecting, you know, white people. And I think I say that with a heavy heart, not because I want white people to be affected, but it just shows the mentality of, you know, some of the black folks that are carrying out this violence. Like, they're literally just self-hating. Do you know? They literally just target their own and bring their community down by doing so. Yeah, I know, man. Yeah, but I'm gonna press play.
Yeah, let's get on with this one anyway, because this is the reverse. That's interesting.
But unfortunately, his case was much more fatal. On the 22nd of April, 1993, Stephen Lawrence was stabbed to death in an unprovoked attack by a gang of white youths as he waited for a bus in Elton.
Talking like that is a sign of a very depressed and disturbed young man. Going to kill you, what that is psychotic hatred of black people. Yeah. That's what people can think, and they're entitled to their opinion.
Unfortunately, a few months later, all charges against his killers were dropped due to the fact that there was not enough evidence. This caused absolute
High Court
uproar.
judge ruled that the five couldn't be asked questions about whether they were responsible for Stephen Lawrence's murder.
The scenario of Neil A. Court, who is a knife user and who is racist, put the two together, and what do they come together in?
As the years have gone by, times have changed.
Did you ever see any of these people in Eltham? Did they move out of Eltham? What did they stick around? Did you ever see or hear of any of them? The suspects?
Right, I don't know them personally, but I know people that knew them. So I don't know them personally. No, I've never seen them or spoken to them, but I do know that the Mail did a bit of an expose just after the ones that I think Gary Dobson got found guilty and another one. But I said in the early 2000s, in the middle 2000s, but. Yeah, but there was one, Lichtenhurst. That's not far away from me.
And what? And when you was here, when you said you've people that know them, what kind of character references was you getting from them? Good lads, don't really get in trouble, or no, they're wrong-uns. Wrong-uns. Let me tell you this, Jedi. Right? Yeah. In the press, they wrote it up as if Eltham residents didn't give a shit. Okay, that's not true. The evening that it happened, the morning after, most people were hearing the names of the killers and saying these people done it and everything else. Some people were afraid to go to the police and say who it was. Yeah. And so they would ring anonymously. They put stuff on police car window screens. They left messages in telephone boxes, because we're back in the days when there used to be telephone boxes everywhere. Yeah. You know, they did, and there was one brave lady that I did know well, who did go to the police and sort of make statements. This same group had stabbed a friend of hers beforehand, and she made a big deal about it, but. Yeah, they portrayed it as if the people in Eltham didn't give a shit, but actually it can't be furthest from the truth. People gave the names up immediately. Where it went wrong is because one of the, I can't remember which one it is now, I think it might have been the A Court, I'm not sure which one, but one of the children had a gangster father who had connections with the police, and basically the police were corrupt. So what they did was they sort of like overlooked evidence and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's where it went wrong. Yeah.
But anyway, culture society, and there is a larger black population, but cases like this are still happening. My right leg was broken. I got cuts all over my left.
It is a week on from the moment a car was driven into him, deliberately, say the police.
Hit the like button, everyone, and if you're on JEDIONLINE, come over to Trilluminai Live. We're back over here, so please come over so you can join the rest of the fam in the chat and interact with me and the panelists. Yeah.
I had a broken nose, broken cheekbone.
Run nigga nigga, run nigga 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 nigga. Okay, I'm gonna just be blunt and say what they were saying. Okay. Ended up with my daughter being brutally beaten to the point where she was stamped on. Someone lit a lighter and sprayed other cleaner on him.
Yeah, until like I see my mom's face and I was in the hospital when she's looking at me and crying and all of that. That's when it kind of hit me fully.
So what? You've just arrested my daughter. She's been beaten by these people. Well, we're not going to tell you where they are because you'll probably invite your gang down and we don't want that.
So I want to hear these people's stories so I can find out whether it actually is safe to be black in Britain. First, I went to the city of Bristol to meet an aspiring rapper, K-Dog, who experienced a traumatic racial experience that's not only scarred him mentally, but physically too. Viewer discretion is advised.
I still feel like he hasn't registered yet, obviously, what happened to my type of thing, because it's just that I'm just doing stuff. I feel like I'm just doing stuff because I'm being told to do it, type of thing. Like, I'm not doing it because, yeah, I need this, or I feel like it. Because I've literally just carried on my life as normal, but that's not the way it should be to the type. Yeah.
It is a week on from the moment a car was driven into him, deliberately, say the police. These images were taken the day after.
Take me through your mind frame immediately after the attack. What was going through your head?
So I just need to look at those injuries. That was horrific, man.
It is a week on from the moment a car was driven into him, deliberately, say the police. These images.
My gosh.
Never heard about this one.
Sorry?
I said I've never heard about this incident. So.
Yeah, they ran him over and then was shouting nigger, nigger and all that stuff.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah, and I don't think they ever caught the people that did it. I'm not sure. I don't think they did.
These images were taken the day after.
Take me through your mind frame immediately after the attack. What was going through your head?
Well, as soon as it happened, the first thing I thought, because obviously I got hit by a car and I realized, obviously, and like the first thing I thought two cars maybe like crashed in or something, and one car just diverted into me. But that's when obviously I realized what it was in it, and with obviously the racial language that was used and everything, that obviously kind of like, when in my mind going like, oh wow, so this is why this happened kind of thing, because literally I've never seen the kids. I don't recognize them. I don't even remember the faces well right now, like, or anything like that. And yeah, it was just like, and you just start deep in stuff in a way, like, oh, why did this happen to me? As in, like, was it because, like, you just start deep in dumb stuff. You just start thinking of,
why do you feel like this happened to you? Why do you feel like you're the target of such horrific attack?
Literally, I fully say obviously it was fully racial based, and because of what the language they used and all of that. So to be fair, I don't even know what goes on in people's heads to do all this crazy stuff, like, and it's just like to even think of driving a car into someone, like a car into a human being, like that is just crazy enough already. And that's why I said, like, what I said in the news is, like, I feel like they need help. Maybe they're going through mental situations in where they need to speak to people and so on. Maybe that's what they need, innit? Like,
what was the aftermath and what injuries were sustained from this racial attack?
My right leg was broken. Well, it's still broken, but it's healing right now. So my right leg was broken. I got cuts all over my left leg and foot and everything. And I had a broken nose, broken cheekbone, and my face was obviously all like scars everywhere. And it's just like, from what happened, it was like cheek was all obviously. It was all obviously, you can all see the scars and stuff. So it was just all.
How did your family react to this? Because in a country where us black men are often targeted, this must be your mum's worst nightmare.
Yeah, like literally, my mom, it affected her heavy. Like with me, it didn't really hit me at first, yeah, until like I see my mom's face and I was in the hospital when she's looking at me and crying and all of that. That's when it kind of hit me fully. And since then, I would say like my family ain't really been the same. Obviously, because you can see the differences now that everyone's like how it's affected them and everything. But obviously, this is where we just gotta stay strong together and just stay positive and just hope for the better outcome in it. So it's just.
Despite what happened to him, it was good to see that K-Dog was trying to get back to his normal self. He allowed me to watch the process of him recording his upcoming track, which retells the details of his racial attack.
The man tried to take my life, but God said it's not your time. What goes in people's heads to commit this horrific crime? I broke a couple of bones, so I'm gonna be out for time, but soon I'll be just fine, like, soon I'll be just fine. The man tried to take my life, but God said it's not.
To be fair, yeah, the way I think of stuff is like someone wouldn't do something like this, yeah, if they didn't have something wrong. That's why I keep literally repeating this over and over again. But when like they need help and something like that, so it's just maybe they need some sort of like counseling sessions or whatever that's gonna take stuff off their chest. So I don't know what they need in it, but they need some sort of help because
I admire this guy, man. Like, he doesn't seem to be angry. You know, I do feel like I'd be harvesting a lot of anger and stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's just like, oh, they probably need counseling. Seems more worried about their mental state and what mind state they would be in to commit such a crime, man. I don't know how I feel. I respect it. I just know he's a bigger man than me. A bigger man than me, man. I don't know. When these things happen to you, I suppose you get a bit philosophical. You know, if you feel like you nearly lost your life and that. You know what I mean? Maybe there's no place for anger when I don't know.
Do they have bad race relations in Bristol then, or was this just a one-off?
Let's ask a Bristol native 7/7 soldier. Tell us, man. Is there bad race relations in Bristol? Is it like a one-off, or is there a big undercurrent? 7/7 soldier. Do you know what? It'd be good for you to jump on. You've not been on for a while. Let's have a chat. Just let me know what Bristol's like. Sooner rather than later, so we can move on. But yeah. Come, let me know. These things can make or break you. Seems to have made him stronger. I don't know, man. Big up Drop Top Hitter. He should be angry now. I don't respect its programming to dumb it down like it's not happening on the guise of Kumbaya. I don't know. I mean, I'm not asking this guy to walk around with anger in his heart because I know it's not healthy. And maybe the healthiest thing for his recovery, you get hit from behind and you don't know what's fucking hit you, bro. Like, that's like a lot of stress. That's a lot of trauma, and I think it could lead to worse things. So maybe it's good that he's burdened with hate, you know, because it's like someone does some shit to you, and all of a sudden you got to walk around with the anger and hate. It's like they've transferred their negativity onto you, which I think is just like a bit of an unfair burden. Yo, Wagwan soldier.
Yes, fam. Wagwan, man. You good?
Yes, broski, man. Good to hear your voice.
Yes,
so,
man.
Yeah, Sister Dupes was asking whether it's like, is there a climate of racial tension in Bristol or what?
Definitely. I'm from Bromdale, innit? But my dad used to live in Bristol and my little sister lives there still, innit? So I know Bristol well, innit? And that place where that you got run over, like I said, is like 3 minutes away from where my little sister still lives, innit?
Okay.
But yeah, when my dad used to live there, he said he had a few incidences of people like driving past him, shouting them things at him, you get me? So
yeah,
it is definitely still a lot more racist than, for instance, Birmingham, because I've never heard of that happening in Birmingham once, you get me?
Right.
Like man's driving past and shouting all kinds of fuckery. And even like, yeah, they're just, it's a lot more backwards than Birmingham or, for instance, London, you get me?
Okay.
And the areas are very divided. Like, for instance, that area where my sister lives, it's pretty white, you get me? And then like there's other areas that are predominantly black, but it's a lot more divided than,
a lot more segregated.
Definitely. Even though Brom's segregated, still same way, but it's like even more segregated than Brom.
And so what would your advice be? Don't go live in Bristol then? Or like what are you supposed to do? If you hear things like this, you stay away from the area where these things happen.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't be going to live in them kind of areas myself, you get me? If I was gonna move to Bristol, I'd move to an area where there was more black people, you get me? The vibe's completely different.
Don't racists win like that?
I don't know. Well, I wouldn't really want to live in the area they want to live in anyway. It's kind of dead, you get me? So the vibes is in the area where the black people are anyway. So, but I don't know. I guess so. But this is a racist country, innit? So I can't really see any way of changing that myself personally. You get me?
What do you say to that, Jupiter? He said this is a racist country. He said.
I don't believe that. I believe there's racism in our country, but it's probably one of the best places to live.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not about believing. Like, obviously, you're a white woman, Jupiter, so you can only believe. But as a person of mixed race background, I know that this is a racist country. You get me? I have first-hand experience of that, and I know it's a racist country. So it's not about belief. You get me?
Yeah. Well, how would I put this without upsetting people? Okay.
Speak your mind. Don't worry about upsetting people. Speak your mind.
Yeah, but I don't want to offend, and too many times people take what I say the wrong way. But when something happens to it exists, right? So racism definitely still exists, but that doesn't make the whole country racist. And that's why.
Do you want me to give you a perfect example of something that I see is like a basic and a blatant denial of like human rights from a racial point that I've experienced from a very young age?
Yeah, go on.
When I was a kid, me and my mum and dad used to go on holiday, obviously, yeah. Sometimes we go on a plane, and one time, my dad's a Rasta man, you get me? So my dad's got long dreadlocks. In the 90s, yeah, there was a big stereotype of Rastas being like gangsters and drug dealers and all sorts of shit. Yeah, my mum's a white woman. So one time we were going on a plane and they chose to search my mum and dad and me, yeah. So when I was a baby, yeah, I've had customs and police searching through my nappy, yeah, as a baby. That ain't nothing but racism, blood. And I don't know one white person that's went through anything even similar to that, blood.
Okay. Well, yeah, that does seem outrageous.
And another experience I had as like, before I was 2 years old, I was just turning 2 years old. This is just before my little sister was born. My mum and dad pulled up outside the post office, yeah. My mum went into the post office to go and do some stuff in the post office. Police came and saw my dad in his car, which was classed as like a nice car in those days, took him out the car and left me in the car on my own as a baby, yeah, for like an amount of time. I can still slightly remember that, you get me? They wouldn't have done that to white people. They wouldn't have just left a white you and took a white man out of his car from his you and just left the you with no care, you get me?
Yeah.
Did they take your dad away from the scene, or was the outside?
They took him and put him in the police car that was parked behind his car. So obviously, from my perspective as a little kid, my dad's just gone. I was bawling and bawling and bawling. I thought all I could know is someone stole my dad. You get me? My mum's gone. I was on my own. It's the only time I was ever left on my own as a child, and that's because of the police's racism.
Yeah, so I can understand from your perspective that that's what it felt like. But believe me, they do that to white people too.
Yeah, okay. but then. Yeah.
I asked where you was with it.
Obviously, my mum's white, so I've got white family. I know a lot of white people, and from first-hand experience, like I said, they've never been through anything even similar to that, especially as a child. So,
and then if we put that your experience and we couple that with what Jupiter said earlier about the killing of Stephen Lawrence in Eltham and the way that the police handled it. In terms of covering up, like I don't see police covering up the murder of a white child committed by a black gang.
No way.
I wouldn't see that ever happening. You know.
We know, Jupiter, you must know that would never happen. It's just ignorance. I feel like it's willful ignorance when you choose to live in this dream world. You get me?
So there's a lot of white people that don't get justice. They don't get justice. I'm sure I went and looked, right? I'm not saying that I know off the top of my head because
yeah, but Jupiter, they're not getting justice because they're white. The point is that we're saying people don't get justice because they're black. Yeah, the white people aren't getting justice because they're white. I mean, they're not getting justice because they're white, are they? That's not the reason they're not getting justice. That doesn't make sense, does it?
No. Let me finish what I'm saying before you jump. So I'm sure if I went and looked, I could find a white kid that was attacked that the white community thought was racial, and the police have dismissed it and just said that it wasn't. There are cases of that. There are cases where people have said it was down to race, and they don't have, because with what they tend to do in this country is say that racial attacks on white people are not really racist because you can't be racist to white people. which is ridiculous. So we do get it, but we get it in a kind of different way, if you understand what I mean.
Well, I don't understand. No, I've never heard of a racial attack on a white person because they're white in England. I think that's fantasy.
Okay, well, one of the most obvious ones are grooming gangs. The ones, so not all of the grooming attacks might be because the girl's white, but there's certainly been cases where they've actually called them white bitches. They're this and the other. That they don't belong to the religion, white flags, as they're doing these attacks. I would say that constitutes a racial element.
Okay, but any perceived miscarriage of justice, could you say it was based on racism of the police? So, for instance, a large majority black police force covering up a racial crime against a white person to protect the black offender. Can you think of any instances of that? Because I think that would be the equal to what we're describing.
No, that I would be a liar if I could say I could, because the majority of the police force are white, but they've still got black officers, haven't they?
Yeah.
So I'd be a liar.
The whole show. Big up everybody on the panel.
Yes, Fred.
Yeah, big up, Cole. Big up.
So for me, when I look at racism, what happened to this boy is really disgusting. What happened to Stephen Lawrence is really disgusting, and if it happens the other way, it's really disgusting. I just don't think that saying only one group suffers that does racism, anti-racism, any justice. I think you have to look at everybody that suffers from it to eradicate it, and not just one group. And I know that upsets some people, especially when they're in the one group that think that they get it worse. And that may be true. Maybe true that they get it worse. But that is not going to get rid of racism if you still allow it to exist in other forms. That's just the way I see it. I'm not saying I'm right, but that's just the way I see it.
All right, I get it. I hear your perspective. I hear it, and I think, to be fair, whether people agree with it, whether I agree with it or not, you're definitely entitled to it, and it makes for a good debate and conversation when we hear this. Yeah, I'm gonna play a little bit more. Fred Cole, do you want to add something, Trill Billy?
No, not really. You know, I just big up the panel, man, and I liked what you just said about Dupe's opposing view. Bruv, even though it's stale bread, we need to hear it, bruv. We definitely need to hear it because she represents a small minority of, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
No, right. Say it, because I would rather you tell me what you think and then me tell you what I mean.
Yeah, I don't want to come across insulting because that's just a whack game, isn't it? We've been playing that one for years, so I'll just listen.
You don't have to insult me. You can just say.
There's no other way to because it's small. The way you're thinking, to me, in my humble opinion, it's so small-minded and narrow and so obviously ignorant. But I don't really want to say these things. I just want to continue the convo and then we're happy days. You know what I mean? But you know where I stand on your opinions. There's no substance in it. No, nothing really. But I like to hear it because these are the challenges we're going to have to face every day as black people and brown people in Europe. Denial game. The denial game. So I'm so glad that you're on.
This is where I think miscommunication happens. Because I'm saying there's racism, but I think all racism, regardless of what colour your skin is disgusting. But what you hear as a black man is, oh, she's not listening to the black cause, so therefore she's racist.
No, Jupes, I hear victim Olympics and racism Olympics in Britain in 2020, and we shouldn't be competitioning on who's suffering from the most racism. We should be concentrating on eradicating the thing.
If that's the case, let me put my advocate hat on. If that's the case, then why don't you acknowledge Jupiter's claims of racism against white people?
Yeah, no, I do, but I'm saying the circumstances is like very hollow. It's like very shallow as well. Like it's coming from a selfish place where you can look at the whole of society and how every facet of Britain's got to live, and know that I don't know, I can't. That way she's thinking is a bit outdated. Like, oh, fucking, I'll bang my toe. Oh, I'll bang my big toe too, you know. Oh, my nail's gone as well. And did you know that white people's nails can go if you bang your toe? Like, it don't add up, bro. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's whataboutism to me.
Whataboutism, okay. So, yeah, so as soon as you give an example of racism against black people, Jupiter will give you an example of racism against white people, and to you it's just whataboutism.
Oh, bingo, Jay. It's like we're saying we've both been through things and we're comparing notes. No, we need to be analysing what we've gone through and what damage it's done. Not like trading notes on whose crimes were the, you know what I mean, fam?
Yeah.
Right. So I would agree with you. I don't think we need victim Olympics on my racism's worse than your racism or whatever like that. No, I don't agree with that. But I think that I can understand why you're taking offence and you see it that way. I can understand why you take offence. But that's not what I'm saying. And that's why, all right, let me put it this way. No, but
sis, can I just chime in 1 second? Because I want to know how much Caucasian to European kids you've seen with their face busted up talking about I got beat up because I was white. If you can name a couple of them. Do you know what I'm saying? It hurts. It's hurtful. It's a very emotive subject. That's why I'm, you know what I mean, a bit jittery. Because I don't see white kids with their face rearranged.
Okay, so last year there were several videos that were going around. I haven't got them on me because I don't keep those kind of things, but I have seen where there were white guys, well, say white boys, let me say boys, teenagers, in a park, and a gang have gone up and they've literally started a racial argument and stabbed that person up. It was all over the internet. I'm sure you probably saw it. And I know that this is becoming more popular, that the divisions are getting wider. I think it's because of identity politics. I think it's going to cause more trouble in the future if people don't face up to it. Now, for me, we live in a predominantly white country, okay? If we solve the racism towards just black people, how does that solve it for the majority of the country as well? It doesn't.
Sis, it's a start. It's a start, sis. Like, we need to at least address something. Like, we can't keep sweeping it under the carpet.
We should address all of it. Yeah, you're right. We can't keep sweeping it under if it happens.
So let's start with some nations. Let's start with brown people. I don't mind. Let's get off Muslims' backs.
Well, why not just start with every case of racism?
Let's just start. You know? But I respect you, though, because obviously you come on and say your piece. And Wendy, too. Enough ratings, whatever. You get what I'm saying? Because you're a prime example of the people we're going to have to interact with and we're going to have to come to terms with. You know what I mean? Woeful ignorance. They're going to see you probably get punched in your face and say, oh, you pushed yourself over. Do you know what I'm saying?
See, that's where you jump from one thing to an extreme. If you assume that
that was a joke still, but
no reason at all, that's just that's unfounded. It's not true.
But we're getting so desensitized to these images of young black men getting mashed up. It's like, you know what I'm saying? We're not even acknowledging what we're seeing. We're seeing a young black male being beat the fuck up. Whole life changed because of the skin color. Like, this shouldn't be going on in 2021.
I agree with you.
It should be like, remember, if I get my private site online now, it's a straight ban. No, I'm just saying, if I was to ever get my privates out now online, it's a straight ban. So why do I have to see in a motive picture such a you know what I'm saying, gut-wrenching image of my young black brother on the screen every other minute? George Floyd, I'm sick of it. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, stop. George Floyd is not Britain, and I think we have to be really careful not to believe that we're the same as America, because we're not. And I don't think that we see these episodes on the telly every minute. For you, it might feel like that. I think that's taking it out of perspective. So it happens. It's disgusting. I mean, this bloke here, the thing that Jedi said earlier about how this bloke is so held together and positive after something like that, I would also admire that. I think that this man here is quite resilient. And I've often sat and thought about people that have suffered like this, how strong some of those people must be to have grown up through the eras of racism that was here many years ago. That was really, really, really bad. I mean, this is bad what this guy's been through, but in the past it was much worse than this. It was on a much bigger proportion of the community than what it is now. You know,
but
and
listen,
I think one of the things that we do need to do, right? White people that are suffering racism, Asians that are suffering racism, is learn from these people, especially now under identity politics, how they still hold themselves together and carry on with life and not get told. Because the way identity politics is going,
yes,
I think it's happening more often.
Pick up the show as well.
Sorry, Jupiter, are you saying?
No, I'm saying, you know, I how can I put this? I was having a discussion with Dave one day, you know, Dave. And Dave was saying, you know, when we came onto these channels, I'm getting to the point. When we came onto these channels, me, myself, Wendy, Dave, we were met with real hostility, okay, because we were white. And I myself was on a daily basis getting called white slag, white cunt, white bitch, going to chop your head off, going to rape your mum, going to rape your daughters, going to rape you. This was on a daily. I don't know if you're aware of this over on Real and Maggie's, yeah. And he said, and it stuck with me, he said, the thing is, because he went off the rails, he started drinking a lot, coming on and abusing black people, and he didn't mean it. If anybody knows Dave, you'll understand that actually he's not a racist, right? And we were discussing why that happened and everything else. And he said it was just like we'd never suffered racism before. And to be met with all that racism, the white people didn't know how to deal with it. So all the white people dealt with it in different ways. And Dave's way was, oh my God, my country's gone racist. And he started drinking and joined in the racism. My way was to be quiet and turn their words back on themselves. Okay? And Wendy's way was to defensively attack.
So you lot was defending yourselves against racism?
I believe so, yeah. Well, in my case, I can't speak for Wendy, but I can say in Dave's case, yes, as well, because he was definitely in the conversation.
Do you believe that it's possible to hold a racist mindset and not realize that your mindset is racist?
Yeah, of course. But then is it racism if you don't realize? Because I believe it's only racism if it's conscious and it's done with intent.
No. I think it is racism, even if you don't realize it. Just, you know, you calling someone whatever, a racial slur, is racism. And then it's like, okay, unintentional because you don't understand what you're saying or you don't understand what you did. But I think it's hard to take that culpability away from people, like, and just blame it on ignorance. I feel like it's very hard to be, oh, I just, you know, I got these views and I just didn't know they were racist. I think once you reach an age of understanding, the general theory of, like, you know, yesterday we spent a long time talking about empathy. The general theory of, well, you know, treat others how you want to be treated, and things like that. They should stop you from saying and doing.
I agree. Jedi,
Yeah.
I agree. But on these channels, that's not what happens. So I'm talking about two different things, because I don't compare what happened to me on the channels to what happened to this man on the screen, because that's an instance of the man on the screen. I'm just trying to understand. Yeah. So I'm not doing it in that way, but what I'm trying to do is make you understand how my mind sees things. So that I gave you that example.
Can I chime in there? Can I chime in there?
1 second. Was it black people or Asians? Who was calling you white slang?
Mainly Asians, to be fair. Mainly Asians, but we did have the odd black person that would come on, and chime in just to be clever. But it was mainly Asians. I'm not going to say it was mainly black. That would be a lie.
Okay, yeah, chill, Billy. What was you going to say?
I was gonna say sometimes these chats, actual streams we're having, I think they're a bit of a reflection of fucking society as a whole, you know, bro. Because it's not robots that's talking, innit? It's individuals that belong to British society. Do you get what I'm saying? So if you're gonna get loads of weird white men come on and say they don't like blacks and Asians, I suppose that's what's really going on in the British society. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to get a lot of them. Like, maybe, I don't know, 60 to 70% are going to be disgruntled with their situation. You get what I'm saying? Is that a black or brown person's fault?
Make a call like that and say it's their fault. No, I think anybody that suffers, you can't tell them not to feel the pain of suffering. That would be ridiculous. But what you can do is say, I accept that you've suffered. What can we do to make it better without fueling the fire and making it worse?
It seems that the only pain you're suffering, however, is fighting the label of racism. Like, you don't want to be called racist, which is a different thing altogether. Like what you said earlier about people, can they be racist to white people? I think, yeah, they can. You're right. They can be racist to white people, but maybe we shouldn't use the word racist. We could just use the word racially prejudiced. But it boils down to the same thing. So I'm agreeing with you on that. What I don't agree with you, however, is your equation of how we can solve this problem. I'm going to follow Trill Billy's tone of keeping it respectful and being grateful to you for actually coming on. Yeah, so I'm going to try and keep it respectful. But what you said to me didn't add up. That's why I had to jump on and like I have to address this miscalculation of yours. Because what you said was,
no, your mic's kind of low, bro. Can you speak louder?
Sorry. So like what you said earlier, Jupiter, was the majority of this country is white. So if we're tackling racism, we shouldn't be really aiming at tackling racism against black people or any particular minority. We should be looking to tackle it across the board, and we should be looking to basically come up with a strategy that deals with the majority of racism, right? What I would ask you, is to readdress that equation and say, what percentage of white people would you say, from your own personal experience and living in this country for 50 years or whatever, what percentage of white people would you say are racist?
Oh, in this country,
including closet racist, quiet racist, like just from your opinion, just put a number to it. What would you say?
15%, including all colours.
All right, so we're getting into the million. No, I'm talking about white people.
Oh, white people. Yeah, 15%. I'd say roughly 15% of the population are racist. I would even say less than that.
Right.
White
So
people.
if we've got 15% of the whites feeling racist, having racist tendencies, and the minorities, including black, Asian, whoever you want to put it, don't even the racist or non-racist ones, don't add up to 15% of this country. If anything, add up to 3% of this country. So you've got 20% or 15% of this country being racist towards 3% of this country. Who's getting the racism?
Right, now you're playing around. Now you're playing around with, right? So 15% of the whole community. I said all colours. 15% of the whole community.
Even if you called it 10%, right? If you said 10% of white people in the UK are staunchly racist, right?
Right.
Black and ethnic minorities don't even come up to 10% of this country, right? So you've got the majority of racists. The majority of racists.
Right, I'm going. You can't have a conversation.
It's just basic maths. It's not about a conversation.
Okay, what it is. You can't have a conversation.
No, it doesn't make sense what you're saying, because you're saying the majority of this country is white, so the majority of racism being felt should be being felt by white people. But that doesn't make sense.
That's not what I said.
Okay, so you rephrase or you reiterate what you're saying, and we can go again.
Right. So what I'm saying is the majority of the country is white. If we eradicated all the racism towards the minorities, that still doesn't stop the racism that is being affected onto the white community, and therefore we need to sort it out. We need to sort out all the racism that goes in between the communities as well.
Can you see the problem, Jeddah? Can you see it?
Wait, one second. Let her finish. Go on. She ain't finished.
To paint racism up, which is how they do it at the moment, as only coming from the white community to minorities is wrong, because that is
agreed.
Right.
We stand with you on that.
When we do that, we also forget to look that there's actual racism between minority groups towards each other as well.
True.
Right. So if you look at racism as being affecting anybody, and understand that the person who receives racism can be any color,
potentially,
you're more likely to get a result from people.
Wrong. I'll tell you why you're wrong. Because you're comparing potential racism to actual incidences of racism, to actual real racism in real life, right? In real life, not every single person in this country is feeling the effects of racism. And you can say, well, they're feeling it 1%, but they're not feeling it 50%, 60%, and black people and ethnic minorities are getting worse racism, but their numbers are lower. The equation that you're using, you're basically saying, let's try and make everyone's life better across the board, right? That's admirable, but that's not the problem. The problem is dealing with people who are getting racism. Now, you can't tell me that 100% of the white people in this country are getting racism towards them, because that means 3% of the country is chiefing up 97% of this country. That's impossible. Can you not see that?
Can I ask you something?
Nobody is saying that 97% of the country actually feels racism. That's ridiculous.
Right, so why are we tackling racism across the board then?
Because I'm going to give you the answer. Because if you can make the larger demographic understand that racism affects anybody, and you're doing it for everybody, then they're more likely to want to be included.
Chime in there, because
I agree with that. I agree with that as well. I agree with that.
Can't, 1 second, bro. I've been watching football for a very, very, very long time. It's mostly 50% black right now. I'm not saying like in the boardrooms that those boardrooms are exclusively white, innit? But I'm saying on the ground level, the people that are scoring goals and putting in the passes, they're black. So what I'm saying, if we can't eradicate in such a small community football, and football is a large representative of Britain as a whole, we can't people are complaining about white players going on one knee for a black man. So I'm saying, if we can't eradicate it from football, we ain't got no hope in the country, innit? So I think we need to tread carefully when we say, "Oh, we're tackling everything at one time," and we need to try and be a bit more specific and get to points and start eradicating something right now. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know how Jupiter feels about players taking the knee for black people. How do you feel about that?
I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. And the reason I don't agree with it is not because it's one black man, because that's too simplistic. It's because it's a Marxist side ideology. And all it's doing is causing greater division. It's actually offending white people and other people that are not black all across the thing, because we can see that there's division, there's, how do they call it, divide and conquer. We can see that that's what's going on. We don't like it. We don't like it.
Jupiter, if racism happens to everybody, yeah, even slightly equally, yeah, then me as a mixed race person, shouldn't I have equally faced racism based on my whiteness as much as my blackness?
Ooh.
It depends where you
live. That's a solid point.
It depends what?
When you live. And racism is down to.
It depends where you live and what. I can't hear you fucking out.
Yeah, it depends where you live.
So
I'm sure mixed race people, some mixed race people have felt racism from black people. I know on these channels there's a lot of hate against mixed race.
I've never seen that in my life.
Bullshit. I've never experienced.
I've been in Britain for a long time. So sorry to cut everybody. I've been in Britain for a long time. I'm born here. I've never ever seen a black person say, "Yo, you're a white man because you're racist and because you're a mixed race. You're a white man or you're white. I don't like your white side." And I've never seen that in my life.
Exactly. I've never witnessed it once either.
Try going on to G Block, you will see it. So there's
please don't use G Block as an example for anything. Please don't.
It's not a physical location. It's a YouTube blood clot show.
Right.
Are you all predominantly a racist YouTube show as well?
Are you gonna allow a response, or you just want to keep talking over me and over each other?
No one's talking over you, by the way.
Ain't you? You have since you come on.
Jupiter, stop trying to change the subject. No one was speaking over you. Just carry on with your point.
Right. So my point is, you will see many people that come on there are black, that say that mixed race people are crazy, that they're fucked up, that they don't want them, they don't recognise them, they're not black, they can't call themselves black. So that yes, there's a lot of anti-mixed race stuff going on.
Sorry to interrupt, but now you're doing divide and conquer. You're moaning about other people doing divide and conquer, but you're more than happy to use those divide and conquer tactics yourself, even to win a petty argument or a conversation. You shouldn't be bringing up things like that because the numbers are so low that they just don't even matter.
What do you mean I shouldn't be bringing that up? So mixed race getting attacked don't matter, yeah?
I'm saying the numbers are so low that it's not making a difference to this conversation.
I see. So the numbers are so low, so we should disregard those people's feelings.
You're trying to be clever and it don't suit you.
Well, you're trying to be clever.
Yeah, but
and this is the point I'm making. And this is why it leads to...
When you said it depends where you live, yeah, did you mean... Because that would be the same anywhere in the UK, you do know that, and I'd always face more racism based on my blackness than my whiteness. Anywhere in the whole UK.
You're one person. But yeah, that's sad if you have.
Oh my God. You're one person as well. You can't say that white people face racism because you're just one person. So you're full of shit and you're just one person.
No.
Right,
you know what? Nah, she's not even full of shit, you know.
When I was at school,
I couldn't have even said that. I'm trying to keep calm, you know. I'm gonna mute myself.
Yeah. What it is.
When I was at school in the 70s, mixed race people suffered the worst abuse, getting called coolies by black kids.
Nah, that's a lie. Because coolies doesn't represent mixed race. It doesn't represent Indian and black. And it's a endearing term. It's similar to the term and the N-word now. We used it as a term of endearment. Like, you are my brother. You are my coolie brother. Like, don't try and divide that one, please. Please.
Yeah, them are the times of Super Cat, you have to remember.
Say that again?
Them are the times of Super Cat, blood. Coolie weren't not like some racist.
Yeah, exactly. Man would call himself Coolie, original bad man Coolie. That's what man would call himself. Like, you get what I'm saying? And you would definitely, obviously, to describe a man, you'd say, yo, he's mixed with Indian, he's Coolie, innit? That's all. You know what I'm saying? So it's not really like a offensive term. But there is a lot of racism within the black community because we don't like each other. Let's be real. Like, obviously, we've got to highlight what's going on. We do not love each other the right way. Do you get what I'm trying to show you? Like, compared to how European people love each other. Like, when there was knife crime in Scotland, they more or less eradicated it because they loved them people. They loved them white children. Do you get what I'm trying to show you? Then what? They can't afford none of their white kids to get a knife in their back. Do you get what I'm trying to show you? So they tried to devise schemes of how to bring down the knife crime. But when it's a black child now, it seems like we're not getting that same impetus or the same effort being put across. So this is where we need to love each other because it's clear that Britain's racist and they will not love us enough to try and stop our crime or try and stop anything happening in our communities. Do you know what I mean?
I think you can blame the mayor for that. I don't think Sadiq Khan's done enough for a knife crime in London.
You say Sadiq Khan did what?
I don't think he's done enough to tackle knife crime in London.
I'm not gonna lie, yeah. I remember when some of us, or some brothers went to speak to Sadiq Khan, which I personally thought was a futile exercise, but it was done. He was holding some meeting and everyone was running down there to go and speak to Sadiq Khan, and I think it was like a bidding for funding or some stuff like that, but the guys I know didn't go there for that. They went there to confront and speak to Sadiq Khan. And I remember thinking at the time, and these are my brothers, what a futile exercise, because what exactly is Sadiq Khan going to do to alleviate knife crime? What are we expecting any of these government officials to actually do? No one's actually given me a proper road plan or how they think Sadiq Khan was supposed to stop Tom and Jerry going at it in the street. Like, how? What was he supposed to do? So, like, since you got that viewpoint, Dupes, maybe you could, in an ideal world, what do you think you'd be able to, what would Sadiq Khan be able to do?
Right, well, the two areas that he would definitely be able to be utilised would be media and money. So, straight away, if you've got a blueprint from the black community and you think that you know how to tackle it yourselves, you can go there and discuss it, and he could have promoted it in an affirmative way. Now, not only did he not want to discuss, or I've not seen him going out of his way to discuss with real Londoners, okay? Because I don't think it's only the black community that suffers, by the way, when kids are getting killed. The white community suffers as well. I've told you this before, or maybe I haven't. Maybe it was somebody that's on another channel. But my own daughter, her next door neighbour, she saved his life. He went out for the evening. He was a black man. Went out with his friend, another black man, to a nightclub. Picked up a couple of girls. Came back to his flat that was next door to my daughter's. They were chilling. One of them says that the girls asked them to go and get more drinks. One goes off to the off license. While they're gone, there's a knock at the door. The bloke opens the flat door thinking it's the bloke come back from the off license, and it's another gang that come in and started stabbing the men, robbed the house and left with the girls. My daughter actually saved the next door neighbour's life because he banged on her door for help, and against what other people would have told people to do, she looked through the spy hole, see it was the next door neighbour, and opened the door and dragged him in, whilst the gang members were still out there running around with them, waving them. I think she was actually
interesting story.
And, it's actually true. It happened in
What When you're saying your daughter, we know you got children. You got children from a black man. You got children from a white man, and one of your children is married to a Muslim woman. So when you say your daughter, which one of these three ethnicities are you referring to?
Right, my daughter's white. My elder daughter.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that. I just wanted to clarify. So your white daughter helped a black man. That's cool. That's nice.
No, it affected her. It affected her because she had to see a young man that she thought was going to die with all his guts hanging out, right? He was holding his stomach together because his intestines were hanging out, okay?
But how is this anything to do with colour or race?
What I'm telling you is that it doesn't only affect the people that get attacked. It affects their families, it affects their friends, it affects their neighbours, and it isn't down to skin colour. It isn't down to skin colour.
Okay.
So knife crime affects everybody.
Coming back to the skin colour thing there, or racism, when we're saying that white people are racist, for example, right? Like this young boy who got run over and now his face is all fucked up. What would motivate someone to do something like that? Because as far as I can tell, white people don't like you walking through their area because it lowers the house prices or whatever, but they don't really mind you dating their daughters. So like, it's confusing for me. Like, I just need to know, where do I fit in? Like, what goes on here? Like, you're running someone over because he's walking through a white area. Why? Because if it becomes normal, then they're going to start moving in, they're going to start buying houses, and it's going to lower your house price. That's why you're running the man over, really. Get me? That's what it is.
Well, how do you know that if they never caught the people? How do you know it wasn't just because he has black skin? How do you know that it was because of house prices?
Because that's what motivates white people, money. They don't give a shit about nothing else. You could breed up their daughter, you could turn up Christmas dinner with your mixed race baby. They don't give a shit. But once it starts affecting their pocket, once we start talking about funds being allocated to minorities, then Jupiter's like, oh, but what about the white people? They're victims too. Come on, mate. Like, we're not dumb. All this racism, yeah, it's all subterfuge. It's all subterfuge. You're just like masking up the real reason. And it's all about money.
So you're
only give a shit about money.
So you're stereotyping to make a point against white people, and you expect me to engage.
I'm saying it's not because they're white. It's not because they're white. They're the established indigenous population. Listen, I'm not saying that they're tight with money.
They're finished.
All right, cool. Sorry.
Right. So what I'm saying to you is, right, that if people are going to have realistic conversations, number one, you've got to take the emotion out of it. Okay. Which is why a lot of people go, oh, she's not showing empathy. It's because I'm taking the emotion out of it.
Right, fair enough.
That's number one. Number two, you can't be just making statements that are stereotypical to make your points, because then you're just engaging in the same shit that happens to black people.
It's not though, Jupiter, because I'm referring to the majority of the population.
Right. So if you think the real,
I'm not stereotyping a minority and pigeonholing them.
No,
I'm talking about
it doesn't matter
of people. Sorry.
It doesn't matter whether they're a minority or a majority. If you're stereotyping a group, you're stereotyping. You're claiming that all racism is down to house prices.
You're a majority.
I'm telling you that's not the case. There's many people on council estates that don't even own their own houses that still don't like black people, and vice versa.
Soldier, you want to add something?
I just want Jupiter to answer my question, and my point was that I'd still face more racism based on blackness than my whiteness in any area of the UK. So I don't see how her point holds. You're saying it depends where you live, yeah, but we're talking about the UK, aren't we?
Yeah. Okay. So if we were to say that every single person in this country was mixed race, then you might have a point.
Okay, so that's the point. If we ask every single person in this country, I can't converse with this woman, man. She's full of rubbish.
Can I say one thing though? Can I say one thing? This is a prime, like Jupiter. The thing what happened with your daughter, man. I'm so sorry for that, but it's a prime example of broken Britain and the racism that we suffer every day. Do you know what I'm saying? It is a practice, because by the time you're 15, 16, you've probably saw 4 or 5 of them incidents growing up in any borough in the London fucking vicinity. Do you know what I'm saying? You've seen about 8 of them crimes in front of your eyes. Just living in London, just coming out my house today, I can see one of them, like a man dropped down normal. Do you get what I'm trying to show you? And it's disgusting.
It is.
But because it's happening to a certain section of society, everyone turns a blind eye and goes on like there's something wrong with that specific community. And there's nothing wrong with that specific community. It's a whole nationwide problem that we have to tackle together. But because these people are a bit racist, you're going to get more of these incidents. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is bad. But tell me this, Freddie. Why do, and I don't want to offend you. I want you to take the emotion out of it and just understand the question I'm asking. Why do you think it's worse if a white man stabs a black man to death than a black man stabs a black man to death?
You didn't get nothing what I said, sis. I said it's a whole nationwide problem. So that means if an Asian man stabs an Asian man, a Sikh man stabs a Sikh man, because it does happen, innit? Muslims do stab Muslims, innit? And Sikh people do stab, because you stab the people that's in your community, innit? But I'm saying to you, listen, 1 second, because you do stab the people in your community, is that correct? White people stab white people and so on and so on. So what I'm saying to you, it's a nationwide problem. We'll have to identify and we have to get to terms with. It's not a color issue. That's what I'm saying. But because these people are so fixated on color, they don't mind it happening to a certain section of society. This is all I'm saying, you know. I'm not saying you're wrong or nothing like that. I'm just saying they don't mind me going out now or any young Londoner going out now and seeing triple murders. They're not bothered.
This is what I'm telling you. No, this is what I'm telling you. You perceive that to be the case. But actually, white people are just as concerned about people getting stabbed on the streets, regardless of colour, as you are.
Sorry, I would say, being the spearhead of a campaign to raise awareness about just that topic, knife crime in the communities, bearing in mind that, you know, London is still a majority white city. There was a harsh and drastic underrepresentation of the white community standing cheek by jowl with the rest of the community, right? I saw there was a lot more Asians coming out, a lot more blacks. There were some white people there, maybe I'd say about 3 or 4. It was literally spot the white person. And on speaking to some of these white brothers, white sisters, they had mixed race kids, so I could see why. So they turned out for that because, you know, they're part of the black community in the sense of they either have a black partner or they have a child that is considered black in the eyes of society. So that's why they've turned up. But there wasn't a representation of white people on a whole, especially ones that were not in interracial relationships. So I kind of, and then going on that and then looking at how other protests went down, I could see that, you know what, they do turn up for protests, just not for the ethnic minorities in their own country. Everyone turned out for George Floyd because that was a psyop, and everyone just went down because it was a photo opportunity and a chance to let off some steam. Had they had genuine concern for racism and or even the welfare of black people, young black adolescents, or whatever, they would have been there on other events. And the events that I was part of were not the only events that went on around the country. And yet again, another case of underrepresentation from the white section of society. I looked out for it. I saw it. So I'm not convinced that they're just as concerned. I think they're concerned if it happens on their road. I think they're concerned if it happens outside their school. I think there's a concern there. I think there's a general concern that, oh my God, there's violence going on, but not moved enough to actually come out and, you know, be counted, so to speak.
Yeah, but you can't. I would say that that's probably true, but you can't really. How can I put this? If it happens on your street, if you live on a council estate and you see what's going on, you are more likely to be aware of the realities of it and want to get involved. You know, this is what annoys me with a lot of these middle class white people, and I'm a white person myself. They talk as if they understand what's going on council estates and stuff, but they don't. They then cause the divisions, and then they make ordinary white people who would ordinarily come out, who would stand with the rest of their community, feel like they're not welcome because they've made this divisive. They've made it look like, oh, it can only be ethnic minorities that should have a voice. And
yeah, but you know what, Sid? I think what trumps all of the ego and the individualism is the kids are dying. So let's concentrate on the children for a change and scrap egos and who wants to goad who or which team wants to, you know what I'm saying, product eat the other. Let's just concentrate on the main aim, which is the children. And we can see that they don't give a fuck about the kid. You could be 12, you could be 8 and or they don't give a shit. Life goes on for them. Do you get what I'm trying to show you? So we've seen it like throughout the years, decades.
Which is why
so there's one conclusion coming off the back of this, I believe, and it's woeful racism. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the only thing I can conclude, because I've been on many a march, just like what Jedi said. And the white population for London is underrepresented completely because they do not care. These are the people in position that could maybe change something and fight for legislation, but instead they will make up a Nazi group and hate on us, like the professor's son that they put in jail the other day for making up 1,000 Nazi groups. Do you get what I'm trying to show you? It's like we've got a lot of fight along with the denial, because you're not willing to see when we come out and try and do something, you're not willing to back us, and then when we don't do nothing, you say, oh, they're not doing nothing to help the community. It's like we can't win.
Can I quickly say something?
Can you not see the problem? Okay, I'm going to try and put it in a way you might understand. Can you not see the problem of talking about racism in the same conversation that you're having? Talking about racism and knife crime. So on one hand, you're telling the white community you're all racist, and then on the other hand, you're saying, but we would like your help with knife crime.
I'm just saying knife crime is a prime example of the ignorance that they've got towards certain sections of society. Do you get what I'm trying to show you? Because obviously it's prevalent that when it was happening in Scotland, they tried their best to eradicate it. So why can't we get that same treatment? That's all.
Let me quickly say something, Freddie. There's a difference between racism and classism, to the fact that, well done, Jupiter, for mentioning middle class people, yeah? But the thing is, when you get off your estate and you go and manage to climb up the social ladder and you move into the middle class areas, you become middle class. So that divide is always going to be there. But with black and ethnic minority people, yeah, once they climb out of the ghetto and start infiltrating or getting into the intelligentsia, they can make a change to this country and the racism won't be there anymore. So the focus on racist people or the establishment is stopping social mobility, stopping people from moving out of the ghetto, living in middle class areas, sending their kids to Harvard, yeah, or to fucking Oxford, yeah, and getting them into the government and getting them into these places. That's why every 2 seconds you open your mouth, you're talking about Sadiq Khan, because he's the biggest threat to you right now. Gangs of children rolling around streets with zombie knives ain't your concern. You're worried about Sadiq Khan, to be honest. And yeah, you're right, Sadiq Khan ain't done enough. I agree with you on that. Because he could have done a lot more.
So this, again, you've done what a lot of other people do. You tell me that what I'm saying is not what I'm saying, and you seem to think you're in my head. So
No,
my
I don't see that. I don't see that.
Sadiq Khan per se, apart from the fact that he's been a useless mayor.
Yeah, but every little Asian boy running around in the state now is thinking I can be the mayor of London, right?
What about Ken Livingstone? Did he do more to address knife crime? You know that knife crime was at our all-time worst in 2005 and 2006, right?
Yeah, no, Ken Livingstone was a wanker, in my opinion.
Right. So, I mean, like, I think this just says that it's a bit of a waste of energy expecting results in our communities to be spearheaded by the mayor. I just don't think it's realistic. I just don't know what we're expecting the mayors to do. Any of them. What are we expecting them to do?
From my perspective, if we're not expecting the mayor to do anything beneficial for the community, then we should get rid of having a mayor like we did before.
I agree. Just like the police. I agree, man. I agree. Like, I don't see the point. More than getting rid of the mayor, I think we should change our outlooks, as in looking to the mayor to be a solution. I just don't think it's realistic. I think it's a waste of our energy. It's going to fall on dead ears, and we can't keep falling into the trick that politicians change things. They don't. People change things, and we got to take back that power. We got to realize that power and then use it. Like, and I think right now a disempowered society sits there and says, "Oh, well, you lot are looking after us. You're our guardians. You sort it." But this is happening in our streets and in our homes, not theirs. Well, yeah, in our homes, in our locality.
Jay, I'm telling you, yeah, Britain's broken so bad, or they're just willfully ignoring certain things so bad that I bet you soon they're gonna have to. The way this, and I've just brought up knife crime to show you how like rotten the whole thing is, because the schooling system's bad as well. The prison system's awful. There's no reform, next to no reform for nobody. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, the whole thing is crazy. And if we don't sort it out right now, we're going to get on a collision course. Big time collision course. And that's what I think. You know what I'm saying? Personally.
Where do you see it going then? Where do you see it going? You're saying collision course, but yeah.
I see it getting more racist, right? Because obviously these the young white population, they regard certain failures and certain flaws that they've got to do with us. It's our fault that there are certain failures and flaws in Britain, and it's not our fault. We've got nothing to do with the failures and the flaws of Britain.
Heathen, what you saying?
Huh?
No, I'm saying, what's Heathen saying? He's been on. Let's get him off mute, man. Get on, Heathen.
I was going to ask Heathen, before you speak, can I ask you something? Once you said you was mixed race, did I misunderstand you? Are you actually mixed race?
I've never said I'm mixed race, though.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. So you're white, yeah?
People do say I'm mixed race, though, because I've never really said that I am.
Fuck off.
No, I've said before, I've said before I could have a bit of Turk in me. I don't know for sure. I've never done like a DNA.
Is that Khan's like? Is that an offer? Is that an offer?
Shut up.
No, there was my uncle traced our family back, and there was a battle. I forget what the battle was called, but there was a battle in Turkey, and we were named after the battle. One of the generations was sort of like named after the battle. So I don't know whether we married a Turk or it was just like named them after the battle, which is what they done back in the day. You know what I mean?
Right.
I forget what the battle was called. I forgot what the battle. It was against the Ottomans. I forget what it was called.
Are you hearing what these guys are talking about? What's your 2 pence?
See, like I don't really see with the whole Sadiq Khan thing. The mayor isn't there to tell you how family structure should work, community structure should work. They're there to support the communities. So the communities have to establish themselves and then be supported by government. And like that's what you were saying before, Jedi, when you were saying like your mates went down in like one of those like bid like to get bids to be able to open like this community centre or this idea to help the community. So that's what the council's there for. But they're also there to make strong decisions. And as an outsider looking at London, I think it's across the country as well. No one's got the balls to make ballsy decisions anymore. Like, stop and search, lad. I know you don't like it in London, but it seems to be working up here. It's a deterrent, you know what I mean? And I know the implications it can have, and I know the sort of community relationship with the police sort of can get affected by that. But then that goes into how the police, it's massive fucking, it's like a spaghetti junction. You know, everything has a knock-on effect of something else. So the police aren't the police anymore. You know, the police are, the police haven't got the balls anymore. So if you're a busy now, if you're a bit back in the day, if you were a busy, you were a policeman. You were a policeman from the area where you come from. Now, for some reason nowadays, the way they do it is you can't police your own area. So I think I've seen someone put in the chat before, we should police our own community. We actually used to, because you'd have a local lad who knew how the local structure would work. Because what happened was they started saying they were getting like, what's it called? Corrupted by like gangsters and things like that. Because they would have grown up with the gangster in school and things like that. They'd let certain things. But at the same time, society run better because that gangster wouldn't allow certain robberies to happen. And I don't know, I'm not all for corruption, but it used to be community policing. Whereas now, especially in Liverpool, I know, like, if say you're from like a certain area, you can't police that area. You're put in the opposite end of the city.
Thing that I've heard recently, I've heard it more and more. You know, the thing where you said police come from outside the areas, so you're not even policing your own community. They're outsourcing people. Because think about it like this: if you're getting called, it's to do with the empathy thing, I think. Because if you come from your own community and something's happened, you're not going to be as harsh on your own community because you're going to be looking out for it. But if you're not from that community and you're trying to police it, you'll do anything to get that fucking job done, even mean being a cunt.
Yeah, and you also know the implications of it's like, you know, it was a great example. I always bring him up. That James Goddard, right? That James Goddard, he's a prick. Right, but what he done was he went and called some MP a Nazi, right? And I don't think he had a criminal record. I think he had a job at the time and all that. And then he went and called an MP a Nazi. He got a criminal record, and now he's out there just annoying fucking loads of people, you know, because you can't get a job again because he's been given that criminal record now. And if you had people from the community policing the community, they would be making these decisions a lot more consciousness, with a lot more consciousness, like of the knock-on effect that might have to the family, to the cousins, to, you know, to the whole family. You know, it can one criminal conviction can wreck 3 generations of family.
Stop you from getting certain jobs, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, completely, like, completely, like. So yeah, like, I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, that's sort of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, now that's coming from a nice privileged place, man. But obviously, if you live in London, you are a walking criminal record.
No, but like, we're a community in Liverpool, like, we don't have the same things as London.
I know what you're saying, but I'm saying to have one. You just said one criminal record can affect 3 generations of families. I'm saying if you have 3 generations of families in London, you've lived in the court. Like, that's facts, isn't it? Like, one or 2 of your family have lived in the court. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Because London is a crime, literally. The corruption is overflowing. That's what I'm saying. We don't want more corruption, because we remember when Brixton Police was corrupt and Stoke Newton Police was corrupt and all these different other Met Police organisations was corrupt.
It's always been institutionalised. It's always been deep-rooted institutionalised.
Yeah, but don't forget the Met. The Met is easily corruptible because the Met doesn't operate like the rest of the police across the country. The Met is a completely different police force, isn't it?
All these forces, they're just made of people. So essentially, it's people. It's the people that do it. So, you know, it's just at the end of the day, a cop is just a person in uniform, innit? That's all. Yeah. It's just a citizen in uniform. And
like in Liverpool, we have a major problem in Liverpool with is it the West York? I think now I've said we have a problem with them. Like I can't remember the name. I think it's West Yorkshire Police. They're the ones who were at Hillsborough, and they're also the ones who they bust in the Toxteth riots, and they bust them in before to police our city. You know what I mean? And they don't like Scousers. A lot of people don't like Scousers. A lot of people don't like me. A lot of people don't like the accents. A lot of people don't like how we live, how we are, how we're loud, how we're in your face. So when you get a Londoner who comes up and thinks, one sec, lad, one sec. I've only got like 2 sentences.
You're getting the fucking violins out, and you're getting the violins out.
Please. So you'll get a policeman come up from London and think, right, it's an easy leg up because you can play the people of Liverpool. So they'll come up from London, and they just don't police it how they should be policing it. They're just doing it as a career. And I think that's a problem as well nowadays. It's this stepping stone careerism. You know what I mean? Where you go from a 0.4 and then your next level is 0.5, and it's this step levels all the way up to the top, and it's backwards, lad. To be fair.
Thing is that you're saying that people don't like Scousers. Yeah, if you used to take elocution lessons and move to London, your life would be different, right? So the pressure that's on you ain't the same as the pressure that's on other people who can't really change their skin color or their phenotype. Do you understand? So you can't compare those two things. If you won the lottery tomorrow, Scouse or not,
but I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me, Khan.
I know, but what I'm saying is you can't compare them things like, oh, I'm a Scouser, everyone hates Scousers. Yeah, but
I'm not comparing them. I'm telling you how it is. I'm not comparing it. I'm not comparing it. I'm just telling you how it is, lad. I'm not comparing it.
But in this particular conversation, everyone's getting their violins out for their own communities, and it's like, what's the point? What are we actually talking about? What are we actually talking about, though?
I'm just telling you how it is. People don't like Scousers, and you're not going to change that. And you are right. You can change it through elocution lessons, and you could actually say the same thing about London. You know, I'll be honest, lad. The black community in London, I hate saying black community because I think that segregates a whole community, and I think that actually creates racism, in my opinion.
No, but you know what it is.
But I think the young lads in London are convinced to be more and more urban, which on the wider scale across the country, just like Liverpudlians, it actually puts you on the outside of the circle.
What's happened?
Like the way I describe it's the JD adverts.
What?
You know what I mean? Like
what? Break it down. Break it down. The JD adverts. You mean JD Sports, right?
You're probably a perfect example. You know what I mean? I'm having a genuine conversation, lad. Fucking hell. I'll just get off, lad, if you're going to carry on like this. I know Jedi's big enough to have this conversation, lad. He knows he's never going to be on the fucking 10 o'clock news saying the news, is he?
Why?
Why? Because it's not widely accepted.
Have you never heard?
And you're not widely understood, Jedi.
Have you never heard
from your dress sense to your rapping? I don't know why I don't know why it's that shocking to you, Khan, that you keep on going. Why can't you have the conversation?
Well, people who represent the news, who come on the news, are more representing diversity in this country than the fucking police. What are you chatting about?
So you believe everything you read on the news?
All right.
No, I'm saying the people that read out the news, you will see people from that area. Yeah. So if I'm watching my local news, I'll see that short little Asian fella that I see popping down my high street every day, reading out the news. But you're not seeing that within the police force, are you? You're not seeing representation equally of the community. You're not seeing 40% black and ethnic minorities within the police force, are you? Like they're literally having to force them, put a gun to their head to make them do it.
And is that right?
Trevor McDonald was reading the news out 20 years ago.
Yeah, I'm saying, you're being encouraged to be more urban. First point I want to say is, you don't like saying black community. I'm not sure where you stand on the title Scouse, whether you embrace it or you don't. Do you?
Not really, Jedi. I think it's I don't think it's beneficial, like, to the Liverpoolian people. Like,
okay,
not at all.
if you got a strong Liverpool sense of identity, surely that's segregating you from the rest of Britain and increasing the chances of discrimination against Liverpudlians. Surely what you should be doing as Liverpudlians is homogenizing yourselves with the rest of Britain so that we all are more relatable, and therefore you would face less discrimination. That's like literally a reversal of what you've just said to me or about the black community.
No, completely, lad. Yeah,
you're putting the owners. You're putting on the owners on a group having to change their identity in order not to face persecution.
Yeah,
and I don't. But that's we can't live like that. What is that?
But that's why I'm just saying that's the problem, isn't it? This is the problem.
That sounds like Nazi Britain, man. I'm not even gonna lie.
Well, where do we live then? What we're living in then? If that's the reality, what's that? What's that?
Well, this is the thing, like, this is the thing. There's no people out there with big enough balls to make the changes that need changing.
It's not that. It's not that. I really don't think it's that. I think it's every time someone speaks out, they get assassinated. So it installs fear in anybody else who's like, well, I've got to put my fucking life on the line. I've got to be prepared to fucking die. And that's what the reality is, because if you step up against the system, you know it's evident. All you got to look at is all the people who spoke up and spoke out, and they're no longer about.
Yeah, but
and
the way
it's not even the system, because the system controls the minds of the masses. The masses will turn into a lynch mob against you. It's mad.
Of course.
You know,
this is what I'm on about. This is where it goes now on to
imagine though, they started off 1 second even, because they started off even describing the word urban with hoodies and putting a picture of if you've got a hoodie on, you're going to do something to somebody. And these things are wrong, bro. We need to come off of this dumb mindset, bro. Like, it doesn't matter if you got a tracksuit on or a business suit, you're still British.
So it's categories and all these things. This is a divide and conquer. They make us put ourselves in categories. So we're like, I'm different from you. I'm different. We're calling each other different from each other. Yeah, we're different in appearance and skills and talent and character, but we're all fucking human, innit? So, yeah, man. I see the division. I see how it's made, man. And the more we're going through time, it's becoming more apparent.
Well, this is how we have the fall, guys, lad, and this is where I think things are even going to change even more soon, because it's widening out.
Essentially, it's a caste system.
Let me say something. Yeah? Let me say something. I don't think having different cultures and different communities is a bad thing. I think that looking at people like me, you, Freddie, we all enjoy the flavors of different communities, and we all mingle, and we all got our own communities. So that does not breed hatred. It's not about that, because Freddie can tell you stories about he went and stayed in Liverpool for the week. You could tell me stories about how you went wherever. I could tell you stories about I went and lived in Newcastle for a month. You get me? That doesn't mean there ain't racism, there ain't hatred, there ain't problems. Yeah, but you're going into a different community. You're the odd one out. You're going to get a bit of a pushback, innit?
Yeah.
But we're still
I get what you're saying. You're making a good point.
Bro?
You're making a good point. It's like if you've never been out of your community, you're not going to know anything new. So anything alien to you, you're gonna rebel against. You're going to be like, oh, you're different. You're going to start pointing things out. But if you mingle with other societies and other communities, it's going to be normal. You're not going to be like, whoa, you're different from me. You get me? Because you'll be like, the best way I can put it, I grew up in a multicultural area, but all the areas around me were segregated areas. Like, you had a predominantly white area, the predominantly Asian area, predominantly Somali area. But then the area that I grew up on, it was multicultural. So the people in my area, we all got on, don't matter what color you were. We had Chinese people in the firm, we had Somalis, black, brown, Asian, every race you could think of, we had in the firm, innit? But then the other communities, they were like all white lads. You get what I'm saying? So but the thing is, the beauty of it is, a few of the people from that community come mingle with our people, and it was like, yo, I don't get what all these fucking differences about. You get me? Like, we become really good friends, and it's because they stepped out of that comfort zone and they weren't ignorant. It's ignorance that causes this shit, I think.
Exactly.
That's so well said, you know.
And not only that, coming back to the subject of money, is jealousy as well. So when man sees you on fucking JD Sport adverts, all of a sudden it's a problem. Why is it a problem, bro?
Yeah.
Nah,
We got
you
one
know what
advert.
they've
We got
done?
one advert out of all the adverts, and now they're mentioning it.
Now what they've
Money's the
done is
motivator, innit?
they've kind of marginalized these people in it, because obviously they want to associate them with crime, so they've automatically associated hoodie with crime. Normally, if you see a black person in a hoodie, he's a criminal. If you see him jogging in a tracksuit, he's coming from. You know what I'm saying? They put these little things in our mind.
Mate, they associate
Yeah,
that
but it's not,
Robin Hood
lad.
times, man.
Lad, this is what you're missing, lad. These young lads are encouraged to wear these clothes. So when you see the videos of people stabbing up people, they are actually wearing these clothes,
Yeah.
lad.
No,
Yeah,
but
There is a responsibility to be
I
taken,
fully
lad.
agree with you.
And they're
Sorry to
encouraged
interrupt
to
you.
wear these
Sorry to
clothes
interrupt you.
because
But I
what's
bet
the
you,
connotation that
Stephen,
comes with it?
I bet you Facts don't buy his clothes from JD Sport, and he was on here
Yeah, but
yesterday
I
saying
used
he'd
to
throw
wear
a woman under a
hoodies
bus.
Exactly, and he was
I
a
used to wear
fucking
a hoodie when I
smackhead.
was a youth,
So
so
who must
was
you
a
know.
get this
smackhead.
shit from? Man in Fred
He was a
Perry.
full-on smackhead, which is part of the fucking problem, isn't it?
Yeah, but I bet you he
Brother,
wears Fred Perry. He don't
Drugs
wear Nike and
create
Adidas.
crime. Fucking hell.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
don't dress like
I'm
JD
saying,
Sport. That's for sure.
it
And
does.
then we're the foremen. See, you're missing it, lad. You're going so
Yeah.
personal, and you're bringing it
I'm
so
not. I'm so
individual
not.
that you're missing
I'm
the
so
whole
not.
thing. That
I've
we're
actually
the foremen.
spoke to Scarcity
You're the
Studios about
foreman.
this. I was like, how much of your news that you report on is drug related? Like, you know, man who do armed robberies. How many of them man have been on hardcore drugs when they're doing this shit? And it goes a majority of them. So drugs are related to serious fucking things. You know what I mean? Literally, I've seen people who would do shit they would never do, not on drugs. But when they're on drugs, they'll do mad shit, man. Like, yeah, it's not normal.
Brother, I just think poor people have had their own identity from the 70s, innit? And nothing ain't changing, innit? And they're not getting pushed to wear the clothes. They feel comfortable in them, and that's that. Do you get what I'm trying to show you? From breakdancing till now, man has had their own swagger, innit? So I'm just saying, like, whether it's a designer shop you go into or it's a fucking JD shop, we shouldn't really be worrying about the clothing. We should be worrying about the people, and that's not what's happening.
Conditioning, social conditioning, you know.
Yeah,
because even
everything's
through
a side
language,
argument.
we are called the
Apart
working
from-
class, meaning that we're only supposed to ever be working. That's it. The working class.
Yeah,
we're not supposed to be anything higher than that. That's what they're telling us through their language. So
I think as well, we as a society, man, we're too scatterbrained. You get what I'm saying? Because
yeah, true.
like we can't sit down and focus on one problem. Like it seems like, I don't know, we ain't got that initiative to just sit down, hone in on the problem and get it cracking. You get what I'm saying? Like to me, it's like, I don't know, it's sad. Even watching that black boy today talk about he got burnt up because obviously the colour of his skin.
I didn't see that video, by the way.
That was awful, man. Looking on that, man, like imagine you
Anthony
sending
Walker,
that.
like Anthony Walker in Liverpool, he got an axe in the back of his head, didn't he? In like 95 or whatever, for being black.
That's what I'm saying, bro. I drove over Norris Green, bro, by accident, bro, and every white man looked at me. Do you get what I'm trying to show you? You know Norris Green, innit, bro?
Yeah, but if you know Norris Green well enough, if you were from Crocky, you'd be looked at. Do you know the cars, lad?
Yeah,
honestly, lad, it's you might have been. I'm not saying there wasn't a racial aspect there.
I didn't just think it was all about being black. I did think, they might be thinking I'm out of town or whatever, or they might be looking out for a special car. So I did think that. Yeah, I'm saying, but I'm just saying.
I used to come down from Garston, and that's like the opposite end of the city. And
that's my area. That's my area. Yeah, that's my zone, Garston. Yeah, that's where I chill out, man. Yeah,
St. Mary's Road and that, Dealer's Arms. But like,
I'm up near
I'd
the
go
Asda,
down there,
you
lad,
know?
and I'd just be snarled to fuck.
I'm up near the Asda, you know you know where the Asda is?
The little Asda, yeah, next to the petrol station.
Yeah, I'm up there.
Yeah, near the barbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that, yeah. It's right.
Yeah, but I'm saying, no, trust me, bro, man. It's everywhere, bro. It's not one specific place. It's not one specific color. I'll feel it if a white boy come on and said, yo, I got beat up for being white. I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to sit my team and think, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be pissed that that's happened in 2021. So we need to get past the clothing. We need to get past the identity issues, and we need to think of each other as humans, bro. And that's what's not happening. You get what I'm saying,
No,
even?
It isn't, but we're getting played. Like this is the thing. We're getting played by the by media, by the papers. I've just had to go with some fella. Then when I went in the shop, he fucking picked up the Sun. Like I'm in Warrington today, but he picked up the Sun, and I said, "What are you reading that for, mate?" He had a Liverpool tattoo. I went, "What are you reading that for, mate?" And he went, "Oh, you know how it is. You know how it is." I was like, "What? That they fucking lied about that fucking tattoo on your arm? Said that we killed our own fans, robbed our own fans, and pissed on our own fans, and you're gonna sit there and read that fucking paper?" It's people like him who are the fucking problem, lad. You know what I mean? Who let fucking mold still grow on the bread and still eat it. You know, instead of picking it off or eating round it. You know what I mean? Once something like the Sun
bread away, man.
expose themselves.
Don't even pick around it, just throw it away.
Exactly, lad, or just throw it completely away, which is what I do, lad. You'll never see me. Like, the only time I pick up a newspaper is to fucking burn it so I can have a fire of a night to keep myself warm. Like, that's the only time I use a newspaper.
Family, I'm a red through and through, you know, but I hate football at the moment, you know. I fucking can't stand it, but I'm a red through and through. I love it. I've been loving it from Ian Rush, John Barnes.
I heard you before pulling Jupiter about the kneeling down, lad. I'm against the kneeling down. Genuinely, I'm kneeling
down too. Oh.
I'm against the kneeling down, lad, because I've never had a problem with
and
kicking out.
Pledging allegiance to something you don't even know. Well, we don't know them motherfuckers.
No, but I'm saying
we live in the United Kingdom, but it's so divided. It's mad. We live in the United Kingdom.
I'm saying, fam, how can the gesture be getting man so crazy? I was saying, Heathen, how can a little gesture like that be making man so, like, that's nothing. We all know it's gimmicks, whatever. It's a piece of shit fucking swag gesture. It's not changing nothing. But I'm saying, at least it's acknowledgement. We have to start acknowledging something,
it is, lad.
Bro.
It is. And standing there with your chest out, lad, is not being dictated to by a Marxist organ. And I know everyone it sounds like I'm one of them fucking, he's saying a Marxist organ. But it is, lad. I've seen, if they want the demise of all of us, you know what I mean? And it comes back to that fella picking up the Sun before. I think it was Hungary or one of the other teams stood there the other day and they pointed at the respect badge on their arm. You know what I mean? And I think that makes more of a statement by doing your own thing. Rather than, because at the end of the day, you've got to look at who's... I picked up a crate of ale the other day, and Budweiser are sponsoring the English team. Again, lad, we know how things are corrupted. And this is why I just can't get behind it. Like, when you look at that BLM as an organisation, not as a saying or a slogan, which is what they're backing. It's corruption, lad. We can't back it. We can't back it.
Listen, this is what I'm saying. We need to put the ego and the pride away and remember exactly what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. We can't afford to get sidetracked all the time. The main thing, what we're trying to accomplish by all of this, bro. What do you think the end goal for all of this is?
What, from the not kneeling?
No, yeah, just in football, because we're just gonna break it down to shit we know. What do you think the end result is, or what black people want out of the game?
Well, do you want to end racism, innit? People want to end racism.
No, I want to be a bit more specific, bro, because you know football, innit? I don't know, what team do you support?
Liverpool, lad, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm saying you must know football. So I'm saying, what do you think? Fucking Mane wants out the game. At the end of the day,
he wants to play without thinking that people are watching him, saying you black bastard or you whatever, this, that, the other. You know what I mean? I don't really know whether that goes. I'll tell you, lad, I go to the game. I've got a season ticket. I've never heard anything racist at the game. Genuinely.
No, family. I know Liverpool's different. I'm just saying to you, what you think that they just want to be treated equally to a white player. Is that what you're saying?
But see that to me. That
do you
again,
think that though? Do you think that yes or no?
It's not Sadio Mane, lad. Sorry, go on.
I'm saying to you, big man, me and you ain't arguing at all, you know, because me and you are brothers, innit? I'm saying to
lad,
you.
I'm just driving, lad. I've got no fucking arguing in me, lad. So
Yeah, I'm just saying to you, yeah. I think Sadio Mane wants to be treated just like Jordan Henderson.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does, but then, in my opinion, lad, that actually...
What's the problem if we strive towards it?
Because I would say to a point he is, lad. You'd have to say how he isn't. You know, there's a lot of black players on a lot more money. Like, the problem...
Don't sidetrack it, fam. Please, fam. Fam, can we keep our eyes on the prize even?
Yeah, cool.
Can we do that? Because it's only a 5-10 minute convo. We just want to keep our eyes on the black pride for 1 second. Yeah? Don't worry about the money, nothing else. I am saying, do you think the black pride is important in the game?
Of course, lad. Any person should be proud of the colour, the heritage, whatever, like that. Whatever gives them pride, whatever makes them the 100% optimal person that they can be.
Right, so I'm saying, Heathen, trust me, bro. And me, if man break dance, if man keep quiet, whatever the gesture is, I'm just support it.
You just hit the nail on the head, lad. I'd rather him break dance, or I'd rather him.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, just support it. Just support it, whatever it is, fam. Because the end goal is black pride.
I can't.
You get what I'm saying?
Lad, I come from a generation where my granddads were encouraged to hide under fucking kitchen tables if the 3-minute warning comes from communism.
Family, man.
If they
you're sounding like
this is what they're trying to do.
You're sounding like Duper and
our cousin. In the game again, and it's, lads, you've just hit the nail on the head. It's strong people that need to make a stance and do an actual stance and not fall in line. They're falling in line to something else. Do your own thing.
Saying,
you hit the nail on the head. Do your own thing.
Brother, I respect Granddad's hustle. If I had to wear an armband for Granddad, I would. I'm not gonna lie, because he's British, innit? Man, I have to respect his thing, innit? Why can't I get the same respect for my thing? That's all I'm saying.
And that's what I'm saying. Kick it out. Kick it out gets respect.
No, kick it out's low respect. And the black players are saying they've had enough for kick it out. So if we're listening to them, if we're really listening to them, kick it out's a failure. Because the black players are saying kick it out. Fucking bullshit, bro.
Yeah, it's a failure, like, because it's a box ticket organ. A box ticket.
You know what you're saying. You know what you're saying.
Thing, that should be
the
thing.
But I'm saying it's not enough. It's not enough.
That's a British.
It's not enough to make Mane. It's not enough to make Mane feel like Henderson.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be the. I know what you mean, but the same aminicity would not be coming towards kick it out if it was kick it out who said kneel. You know, it's because it's coming from Black Lives Matter, lad.
I know,
you know what I mean?
I know, but I'm saying, bro, take the politics out of it, fam. Can't we do that as a nation? Because if we don't take if we don't take the politics out, this is why black people and white kids and Asian kids and all different types of kids are gonna die tonight. Because we can't see past petty shit. Like, don't you think that?
Point. I'll say you've got a point. I've got a point, lad, and I'm not. I completely empathise with that point. Completely do, lad.
Please, brother, man. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying, Heathen. I ain't even trying to say it on a stupid one. I'm just trying to say it on a one where we need to unite, bro. Like me and Jed. Jed said that he went on a bag of marches and he didn't see the right colours of people. That is a fucking disgrace, bro. Now we need to work on that.
Lad, say that again. Sorry, lad. On the motorbike. Say that again.
Jed said he went on an anti-knife initiative throughout London, and he didn't see the right colours of people.
And what are the right colours, or like? You mean like
that means the whole community coming out? Yeah, not just because you got a black husband or you got a mixed race child you're coming at, because you really care that 8-year-old kid could get killed tomorrow. You really care that a 10-year-old kid is vulnerable of knife crime. Because you're not going to worry about sending out a 12-year-old in a tracksuit. You're not going to worry about sending out your 12-year-old lad in a JD tracksuit, fam. Please don't tell me you're worrying about that.
Lad, to be honest, lad, you've got to worry about that because that can bring heat on him. By the way he dressed,
no,
lad, I've been
don't
through
worry
it all.
about that.
I used to dress in Lacoste trackies, and I'd go to certain areas, and I'd be chased out because they knew I weren't from that area, and I was dressed like I was ready for it, lad. I knew what I was doing every time I put my tracksuit on, me Lacoste tracksuit or me fucking TN, Nike TN. I knew what I was looking like. I look like I'm ready for it.
I believe you, but I want to live in a Britain where I can fucking send my child out in any fucking item of clothing and know that he's coming back safe. He's not going to be prejudiced just because of what he's wearing. I want to live in that type of Britain. Because the Britain you're describing sounds like Germany. Sounds like
possibly, but it's the reality of it, lad, and this is where all these problems come from, and this is why I'd like to get to the bottom of these problems. You know, it's the connotation. Like, what's the new one? The new one in Liverpool is basically the whole fucking rig out is Under Armour. You have your Under Armour shorts on, you have your Under Armour top on, your Under Armour cap, and then you have your little man bag, and the connotation that goes with that is you're a dealer, you know, and people get mistaken then, and 9 times out of 10 that they are a dealer. Like I'm genuinely being real, lad. I want to put an end to it all. I just don't know how. When you have like the major drug dealers within society and you see them in the paper getting arrested, and they're dressed in these ways, and then the kids dressed the same.
You see the dress code, yeah? It's pushed through the music and the media, bro.
Yeah, exactly, lad.
You get me? So
Exactly.
that's how they associate it, because the singers that talk about shotting and doing this and that, yeah, they're usually wearing these things, so then they just associating then it comes under presumption and assumption.
Yeah,
you get me? Because you're wearing this, you might be doing this. So you know what I mean? It's
so we're judging people.
They make grey areas.
We're judging people on how they look rather than getting to know people, and that barrier's there, isn't it? And that goes down to when people go home of a night now. You know, they go into the house, they draw the curtains, and they put the telly on.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, but
you might not knock on next door.
You can't.
See if next door's all right.
You can, to an extent, kind of work things out. Like, obviously, if you see consistent patterns or something in someone's behavior, then you can kind of work things out, innit? Because some people are loose how they move. So a lot of these people that are getting all this shit happen to them, a lot of them move loose and then they wonder why this shit happens, you get me? And I see it in my own community, like there's a bag of people that are just loose how they move, man. And then when they under fucking, like, I don't know, you know what I mean? When people start finding out their business, they wonder how people, they're too loud, man. See the underworld, yeah? The underworld isn't underworld no more. It's in the open, it's in front of everyone's faces. Like back in the day where you had the mafias and everything was kept under wraps and quiet, you know, like it wasn't. That's why, like in the 90s, it was different because you still had a bit of that underworld kind of shit going on. But now we don't have it. It's out in the open. It's a free for all. And
Liverpool's quite like that, lad. Liverpool's still quite like that. I don't know whether it's going to change now.
Liverpool and Man is prolific, man. Because you got the Ducks on Liverpool, man. Come on, you got Liverpool Ducks, man.
Exactly. So you've still got major families still in charge.
Definitely.
I forgot what I was going to say. Then,
it's not even major families in charge. You got the fucking access to everying coming in straight off the boat.
Yeah, that's never going to change, though.
Yeah,
exactly. So.
The Filipino people come through and shook it up a little bit, but apart from
I've always said this shit. I'm like, yo,
you've heard of the Youngies, lad. You've heard of the Youngies. If you've been to Liverpool, they were major. Major
I've
Filipino
always said this,
family.
yeah. I've always said this, yeah. All the maddest drugs come from like some of the poorest countries in the world, yeah. And they end up in the richest countries. Ain't that mad? Ain't that mad? It's like everyone just loves it in the UK. But the thing is, it's not even our generation, because you had the opium epidemic and the crises back in the fucking 1800s and things. So this is a thing that's a generational thing. It's like certain things get reintroduced. Like that's how it seems. It seems that because it's a cycle, man.
I'm sorry to bang on about knife crime, innit? I was just using that as an example, innit?
No, but it's all connected, man. It's definitely all connected.
of why people don't give a fuck about people in England, innit?
Some
we
people
can all
do
go
for
to
them,
hell,
man.
and once I'm eating, everybody else fuck themselves. You get what I'm saying? That's the type of attitude we got. You get me? And unless we break out of that,
I know about people who have been stabbed, yeah, and they're not even like raw people. They're like they're soft people, man. And it's like the people who stabbed them because they know that they ain't gonna fucking fight. You know what I mean? Some people are doing it for like. I've noticed this shit, man.
Brother,
listen. Like I was working in a young offenders place yesterday. I was doing work in there, and like I'm a big lad. I know none of you have ever seen me. To a lot of people, I can be a very intimidating fella when you meet me. I'm like, when it sounds like I'm shouting all the time on this. This is how I talk, and I'm quite in your face. I don't go into a shop and just put my head down by me. I'll have a conversation with everyone, you know what I mean? If you make eye contact with me, 9 times out of 10, I'll talk to you, you know what I mean? I'm one of them annoying bastards. But at the same time, there was these young lads there yesterday, and they're missing. I'm not saying I don't like to say what I am, but I do consider myself like an alpha male, sort of, or I've got aspects of me which is alpha male, whether that's just me outlook, what I look like. Maybe that puts people on the back foot straight away. But all these young lads yesterday when I went round, you were all coming over to me and asking, right? And they were talking to me, what's happening, lad? And they were all smoking, and you could see everything that they were doing was to look hard and to look intimidating and to look like the big man. And do you know what upset me? The only thing what I'm trying to point out, and I think this goes on a larger scale nowadays, within like young lads who do have problems, they were all getting looked after by these fucking, like, and I mean, like, I wouldn't even say beta males, I'd say like they were fucking dweebs. Do you know what I mean? And they're trying to tell these kids what to do. The kids are just looking at them, just thinking, "What? You're nothing. You're absolutely nothing. I'm gonna go and do what I want to do, and you'll just have to deal with it because you're fucking wet." Like this is like these are like 13-year-old kids telling full-grown fellas.
Brother, you know what's happening
I mean?
now? You know, I come up with a money thing, innit? So basically, I can only compare it to all my little thing. I come up with the money, innit? Some of my friends come up off of blood. So what happens is if you get your name off of blood, you get bloodthirsty, innit? So a lot of these kids have come accustomed to stabbing you and killing you, and because that's how they first got their name. I got my name off of pound notes, so I was addicted to money, innit? Like that was my MO. Like, but I'm saying if I come up through the blood game, it's different. You get what I'm saying? It's different. Like, I can understand how soldiers get bloodthirsty. It's the same way how these kids get bloodthirsty. Soldiers love combat. That's how these love combat. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then you go searching for it, and then again, lad, you could like what's it called? You sort of reflect yourself outwards, and then it comes to you, completely, lad. And then that's what I was saying about like the dress codes and all that. It's sort of like a mirror, you know, like an outward-facing mirror. It sort of attracts trouble.
It's a uniform.
Yeah, it's a uniform, lad. And how do we stop it being a uniform and being clothes again, lad?
Nah, remember they partly made it like that, you know, because remember they associated everything with a hoodie to crime. So they partly made that connection. Do you know what I mean? Everything is partly their fault, and we're just playing into the game.
Exactly, we're playing into the game, man. Exactly, we're playing into the game.
This is why I want us to stop messing about and start getting serious, because Liverpool is the type of club that could make a change for the whole Premiership. You know that, innit? If we said, you know what, we're going to ban everybody that's fucks about, and what we're going to do is we're going to cap wages if we ever see any players, fuck about. You go, I'm trying to show you. And then the club would have to fall in line. Like the fans
but
would
like,
have
again,
to
we're run by Yanks. You know, Americans aren't bothered, lad. You know, I know you say like English people, like Americans aren't, Yanks aren't bothered, lad. They're just there for the fucking pay packet.
I know, but soon it's gonna come round where we're gonna get some proper owners, some Saudis or whatever. Hopefully, pray to God.
Well, I know that Singapore fella. That's that fella from Singapore or Hong Kong. One of them. I know they're very different places, and people are gonna go, oh, you should know. I don't know the difference. I just remember he was an investor from one of them countries because he wanted to actually bring investment into the city as well, the city of Liverpool, as well as the club.
Brother, we just need more education, man. I promise, bro, man. That's all we need.
Freddie, I was going to say, Liverpool could never do that because of Luis Suarez. They could never be the leading example for kicking out racism because of what he did.
I hear you.
What did he do? Oh,
Suarez.
yeah.
Suarez.
Yeah, come on, Suarez.
Yeah, Suarez.
No,
I'm saying.
I just thought biting straight away. But yeah.
Yeah, but he will never get back next to the club. Even though he's a little bit of a legend in some people's eyes, he's not a legend to me. He's just a good player. He will never get back near that club. Trust me, sis.
I'm not one of these.
I rated him until that incident. When that incident happened, I was just like, no, you lost the plot now.
When you're calling people niggas,
and I watched an interview, and it was just a bit mad.
What was the incident for a non-football guy like me?
Oh,
one player nigger, innit? Under his breath.
Yeah.
But he
said it in like
what he tried
Spanish,
to say
didn't
was
he?
that in his language, that it's a normal thing that they say, apparently.
Yeah.
But he tried to style it out, but it was all bullshit.
South American, which is socialists, which are communists, which is where all the fucking Nazis fled to after the war.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
I just think we've got the power to make the change, you know. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, and I look at football as a reflection of society.
Exactly.
And I'm saying if we can't fucking get it together in football, we ain't never gonna get it together at all. Because that's just like a little secular thing.
Yeah, but
if man's got a problem with the knee,
isn't it?
yeah, but fam, if you got a problem with the
it's
knee,
just box ticking. You know, they can get out there and do it off their own back, lad. Just do it off their own back, but they're not.
No, what's happening is the chairman's all white, bro. We need some black boys. We need some black men up in there quickly, ASAP, to instill some type of black pride. Like, because I don't know, gay people have got more pride than us at the moment in football.
I don't think it's about colour, man. I think
You
it's
get what
about
I'm trying to tell you? Like, they acknowledge gay pride more than they fucking acknowledge black pride in football.
Lad, do you know what I was saying to Velly yesterday?
Agenda, bro.
Velly was
That's
talking
their
about
agenda.
double standards. And I was saying, do you know when Black Lives Matter was protesting in London and like 3 busies got hurt? I don't think it was many. I remember it being a low number, but people were like, see, we're in peaceful protest and all this, all that. When the Palestinian protest went on the other week, something like 30 busies got hurt and nothing got said on the news. So again, lad, it's whatever they want to be able to push. And then these players then get tied down into these contracts where you can't speak. Yeah, when I was working in a factory building cars, I had to sign something to say I would not speak to the news or the media about up-and-coming cars or like new technology going in the car or all this crap, lad. And all this crap is the things that's stopping things being implemented by people, by players. And this again, lad, this is why I'm so against this taking of the knee. Because these players, if they really wanted to do something, could do something. Doing something for 30 seconds at the beginning of kickoff is fuck all. These people can reach a lot more on their own social media, on all this. You know, they can make a stand together.
Brother, what are you going to do? Train, fucking score the goal, make the winning pass, win all the cup, and then go on social media and advocate for fucking racism, bro. It can't be down to the players.
We shouldn't even be waiting until it gets to people are going to the football stadium.
Why are we waiting for
this problem?
Why are we waiting for
but this is the
influence. Some of those people are probably the ones that are most deep rooted in whatever they perceive their culture to be. This whole football thing, hooliganism, whatever you call it. And with that does come a lot of racism because a lot of those people are known to be racist. Why are we waiting until it gets to there? It's pointless. We
Why
expect
we allow
the
it?
people who are
This
the
is
most,
the day and age
possibly
we're
the
living in.
most racist
This is
ones to change
but Mary
things.
Jen, this is why you've got influencers on Instagram.
Yeah,
making,
but why we
this is why you've got
allowing
little
these
girls
influencers
making
to be our
flipping
voices though?
millions. That's where they make your voices go to, exactly, lad. That's where the voices are now. It's on all this social media. This is to be fair, actually.
Yeah, but that's
you
just
can
until
actually
the
argue
next
against it and
influencer
say,
comes along. The next influencer comes along 2 weeks later, and they forgot what the one said 2 weeks ago.
exactly.
Just like the news,
And
the
that's another
influencers
problem,
are just
innit?
like the news now. It's just a new
They do
form
it
of
for the
media.
attention, man.
Yeah.
They do it
I
for
don't
the
watch
attention.
BBC News, but I follow this person and that person because I like what
Exactly.
they say and because they're
And
woke.
that's why nothing can
They're
stick.
woke.
Nothing can stick.
I just think no, we're always gonna be in some type of conflict, man. Do you know what I'm saying? Because we're not ready for change. Like we as a people, we ain't ready for no change. Do you know what I'm saying? So we're always gonna be at odds with each other. Do you know what I'm saying? Because this country is broken in so many different ways, and no one wants to help fix it. Everyone.
I don't know where Jupiter went. I don't know why Jupiter jumped off, but Jupiter, can you jump on? And Sarah, can you jump on? Because I'd like to be involved in your conversation, but I ain't talking and typing at the same time. So please jump on. And Dublin, if you're listening, stop timing people. And everyone else, hit the like button. What is this video all about? Can someone tell me? Because this is horrible. What this image is quite disturbing. What's on the screen? What's happened?
Oh shit!
Oh, they've been burning them. Looks like someone said burning them.
So what? This is a racial attack?
Yeah, it's a racial attack. It's
what,
one of
recently?
many. You know what I mean? One of many, which is sad. Because as I said, if I take out my privates, the whole channel's in problems. But these images have to be portrayed all over line. No censorship, no nothing. You
Where
can just
was
see
this?
a black boy hurt, normal. Try and
Was this
find
in
a hurt
London?
white man online. It's going to be hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was this London or somewhere else?
It's going to be too graphic to show a hurt European person. That is facts. Do you get what I mean? But we keep having these images bombarded. I know, and I want it to stay up so we can realise what we're actually up against. We're up against.
Lad, I think you've hit the nail on the head, lad. I think people need to see these fucking images of what people fucking do to each other. I said this during the fucking
most definitely,
Afghan and the Iraq wars, lad. You know,
but
people
family,
who think they can just hide away.
You know what I'm saying? I haven't seen a hurt European online for years with any type of injuries like him.
It's true. There's nothing that's coming to my mind when I'm thinking about it. I can't think of any.
Bro,
but you
it's
know
not
what I look at this?
It's not.
I don't look, but probably not, lad, anyway.
Being bombarded.
Sure
no,
if
even if you're looking or you're not looking.
News, you'd find it, but
even if you're looking or you're not looking, you're still going to get bombarded.
It's not being pushed out there.
12-year-old.
Would I have heard of this, lad? Would I have heard of this, do you reckon?
At some
You know what I
point,
mean?
yeah. At some point, it'll build up algorithms and get to you, depending on what content you're watching and talking about. So potentially, yeah, it would have, because you talk about racism on these channels. So the algorithms tend to reach us because of that.
It would have got to you. It would have got to you. And this is the thing, it's getting to me. Like, this is why I want us as a black community to wake up. There's no one that's going to help us or save us, help us do anything. We need to support man like Jedi. We need to fucking give thanks and praises to our brother like that wakes up and still can be bothered to do all of this. Do you get what I'm trying to show you? Because fucking hell, man. I'm telling you, we are up against
that's where I'd say, like, that's where I'd say don't say the black community. You know, you want your neighbours, whoever your neighbours are in your community. Do you get me?
Yeah, but family, my neighbours are letting me down. My neighbours are chastising me. They're smiling in my face, but as soon as my back's turned, they're fucking they're onto man. So I can't even fucking trust my neighbours, bro. When I've tried to call my neighbours out to help me do something, they've shitted on man. Like what Jedi said. Do you get what I'm trying to show you? So the neighbours in London are dead. I have to look about my black community
I've got an
ASAP.
alky and a smackhead and a crackhead for a neighbour. So
Yeah, I have to look on my black community and ask us what we're doing
I'm just
tonight.
going to say none of my neighbours are English. I mean, not saying they're all black. I'm just saying none of them are English.
mine are intoxicated English people.
I've got every nation around me.
No, I've got every nation around me, sis, but specifically I have to look on us and think what we on. Do you know what I'm saying? Because right now, like, we're looking for external solutions, but we should really, the main solution to this thing is start supporting each other like 100%
unity.
more. 100% more. Do you know what I'm
I hear
saying?
what you're saying, Fred. I hear you, but then how does
way
that
out
stop?
of this thing? Because if we
100%.
support each other more, hopefully less of this image will be on the screen.
Okay, but how does black people supporting each other more, the black community supporting themselves more, stop racism from happening?
I don't know.
No,
There's a
because
video of some
we'd
white
be
kid.
tighter knit. We'd be tighter knit. We'd be more looking out for my man. He could be
you
able to
guys see-
scream and a black man will come straight away.
No,
Yeah,
but
did you
like,
guys see that video?
but hold
Yeah,
on,
did
hold
you
on,
guys see
H.
that video
Hold,
this
hold
week?
on, H. Hold on, H. I was asking a question. 1 second. Almost lost my point. Come back to me. Come back to me. So if this
No,
guy,
I'm saying
let's
we
say,
used to work in the 80s, you know, sis, where we used to be more tight knit. Like
okay,
much
but
more
he
tight
should be
knit.
free to be
And we
able to
used to
walk
have
down the
shops and
street without
outlets to
getting
go to
attacked,
and
right?
run to. Sorry?
He should be free to walk down the street without getting attacked. So he shouldn't need to have his brothers or his community watching his back at all times. I hear what you're saying, but let's say in the scenario where he doesn't, because clearly in this case he mustn't have had anyone watching his back. How do we change the mindset of the racist people?
No, we need
How
to
is
turn
the
up.
community supporting itself going to change their mindset?
Yeah, we need to turn up like what we done in Birmingham when they killed that 14-year-old child,
Nah,
ran
man,
him
I've
down
got
and
a
stabbed
solution
him
in the
up.
private chat.
Yeah, like when they stabbed up that 14-year-old child and called him a nigger and ran him down, everyone turned up to the area and said, "We're not having this no more, innit? Can you leave us alone, please?"
There,
Do you get
there was
what
a
I'm trying
girl,
to tell you? Sorry?
like, do you know Allerton Road? Have you ever heard about
Yeah.
Allerton Road in
Yeah,
Liverpool?
yeah.
There was a girl on Allerton Road the other day, and she started having a go at these black girls. Started calling them nigger and whatever, just loads of abuse, lad. And anyway, she just got done in by everyone. Just like the whole school just turned on her and just done her over. And then her face went out. Her face with all the bruises and all that went out. You know what I mean? And she was like publicly shamed. Do you get me?
Yeah, that's normal. That's supposed to happen. Do you get what I'm saying? Because you got to know
Exactly.
where you are. Like,
But where that boy's
place
from, he's from
Never
Bristol.
call someone's race in
whatever.
an argument. It's always got to be about character, the individual's character. If you have an argument with someone, it should never be about colour. Should be like, you're a prick because of this reason, not because of you're this colour and you're a dickhead. Nah, it doesn't make no sense. It's just dumb. That alone shows how small that individual whose racist mind is.
Family, the only way I can see us solving our problems if we segregate, fam. I know it sounds dumb, bro.
No, don't be silly.
No.
Nah, bro. I've been saying that from so long ago. Bro, I've been saying that from so long ago.
Explain to me how that's the solution. Explain to me
Well,
how that's the solution.
Because obviously,
how? Make me
because
understand.
obviously we can get our house in order, innit? We can concentrate on our own problems and our own issues because nobody apparently.
Yeah, but that's segregation.
If you keep going in this vicious cycle of expecting someone to care when no one does,
going backwards.
we are going.
Yeah,
going backwards.
Like I said, I've lived on multicultural
No,
areas.
what I'm saying, we're expecting someone to care and no one does care.
Areas.
Do you get what I'm trying to show you?
So Freddie,
What's wrong with us with What's wrong doing self-reliance?
What about mixed race children? What about the mixed race people?
I'm saying anyone that wants to come.
Good question.
White, purple, pink, or blue. Anyone that wants to come, you're welcome. But we're over there.
But then, what, you get a resistance now from the white people because you're taking their white people away? You're taking the Asians away.
No, I don't mind what they say because they're going to have something to say anyway, regardless. If we try and integrate into the burning house and all the burning rubbles fucking fooling in us and we're integrating into a burning building.
For the world to work properly, we need everyone to work because
Integration's failed for us.
No, it's the government that's doing it. The government is making us the division.
This country do all that country do all that. We need everyone to work together, man. We can't have like, oh, nah, I'm segregated. No, this is all mine. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
Then you're gonna have no-go areas, ain't you?
I think the thing is, integrating. Maybe it seems like it's not helped, but that's because of the higher powers that are out there? Because of the way the
segregated ever did.
They're so brainwashed by this shit that they carry on living that same life.
Sorry, say that again, please. So sorry. Say that again, please, Mary.
Hello?
Say that again, Mary.
Oh, sorry. What did I say?
Oh, Mary. What I'm saying.
My connection went mad for a second there.
The powers that be. The powers that be are getting in the way, I think you said.
Yeah.
Integration. Would the integration work
because of the
if
system
the powers that be?
Is that what's stopping us, the integration from helping things to move forward?
Sis, I just think they don't want integration. It's false integration. They want to integrate us the same as the Nazi integrated the Jew into a ghetto and self-degradation. And put man down. You get me? And I'm saying that's wrong. I'm tired of getting put down now. I don't want it. I want to go over there and be left alone. You get what I'm trying to tell you? It's basic maths.
Yeah, without
yeah, but see, like I would say that's where I'd say with Mary's a little bit right there, because I'd say that sounds like what they want. Because again, then you're the fall boy now. You're the perfect poster boy for look what he's doing now. Like, you know what I mean? He's got his own road down there, and he just wants only him and his mates in that road.
Family, I'm not gonna run it like them. I'm not gonna do this full-time Nazism and the segregation to an nth degree. We can still rave together and have a beer. Like, come on, man. It's normal. But I'm just saying, our economics and our finances, we run it. Because we're spending a lot in JD, as you pointed out, and we're spending a lot in all these frivolous
I know you never said this, JD.
No, I'm not going to hold you up against it. Come on, brother. I just wanted to use it again quickly. But boom, there, we're spending a lot in it, bro. So if we consolidate that money and funnel it where it needs to be, like the kids' future, for fuck's sake. Yeah, we might need to get somewhere.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You don't have like
guys?
You don't have like a black council of Britain, but I wouldn't say that's the right way to go personally. But you don't have that like
we need one,
sir. Yeah, you could argue that. I wouldn't say you.
Yeah, because all these knighthoods ain't helping us. All these knighthoods and MBEs, they ain't helping us specifically.
I know what the problem is, yeah.
So
people don't
if you could get these,
no more.
Instead of knighting the people, if you could get them together to help do something for the fucking community, that'd be lovelier. Because you are
spirit's gone.
Exactly, yeah. There is people out there that can implement things. They just choose not to.
Sure. We have to wonder why, and we can't wait for them. We can't wait for them, even. We can't wait for the people. We have to do it ourselves.
No, you can't, lad. You're right. You can't. Because it's like, even like, you know yourself, lad. You'll get a drug dealer, and they'll make mega bucks, and they'll just move out the area. You know where you'd always thought, oh, he's very community minded, or he's got a bit of money. No. As soon as they get the chance, they're gone. They're up and gone, and they're in a nice area, and then they'll pay the extra little community tax of the area to get the roads swept and get all the hedges cut and all stuff like that. So they're willing to do it again for themselves. Yeah, exactly, lad. You can't wait around. I get that completely. Do get it.
It's a dog eat dog, isn't it?
Yeah, it is dog eat dog, lad. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I wish it weren't like that. You get me? But it is what it is, and I think future generations are gonna grow up more confused.
No, it is.
This is why. Sorry, fam.
Well,
it is what they've made.
It's about money to them. Kids, it's about money. The new clothes, this, that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
this is where it's sometimes. This is where I think it goes into the class system. You know, and then this is where I'd probably argue that this is where the common thing across all of us on here are talking about. You know, and where we sort of have obviously different things go on in different areas, but the core of it is that they want us to dress certain ways, speak certain ways, act certain ways, so they remain in a solid position where they are. Yeah.
That's right. That's
and I don't think that sort of argument actually has a
unite.
Yeah.
No. They don't.
But it happens like every 100 years, doesn't it?
Even imagine the fucking uproar it would fucking cause, right, in the nation if we said we want a bit of Birmingham for ourselves, or we want a bit of Yorkshire. You know what I mean?
What? That's what the far right is actually saying. That's what the far.
Be fucking.
Ralph,
no,
have you
but
ever spoken to Ralph?
That'd be fucking causing an uproar. The Queen would have a fucking hissy fit, and then they'd have to sit up and offer us something proper. You'd have to meet us and fucking at the table. We ain't even getting the crumbs off the table.
Lad, it's getting spoken about now. That Ralph who comes on these channels, that's what he wants. He wants like Birmingham to be black.
Yeah, what he wants
and
is a nut job.
What he wants to be like Islam. You know, and divide.
But just imagine, he's 1 minute he's far right. So if he's far right, he's got Indian heritage. So if they won the far right, he'd be the first one on the boat out of the country. So how does he work out his logic? Then he's not far right, he's far left. He's another one that just comes onto panels just to cause drama and make people argue.
The far right and the far left are one of the same, lad. The far right and the far left are one of the same.
I don't vote for no
sort of crossover. That crossing over point where they have just everything in common, to be honest, like.
Brother, I'm not trying to be far right or far left, brother. I'm just trying to live. And I'm thinking the best way to live is go back to Sherwood Forest and set up my own Robin Hood clan. I'm not lying, you know.
Do you know what? Like, I'm not even being like disrespectful or nothing, but I used to listen to that. I don't know.
Ethan could be Big John. Little John.
I used to listen to Young Pharaoh, and I loved everything Young Pharaoh said, except that argument what you're bringing forward. Again, I empathise with it. I get where you're coming from, and I get that it might sort out problems. That's the only that's the only like point I really disagreed with him on, was that sort of segregation, sort of like the black community goes into the woods. Let's just use that bit there. Like goes into Sherwood Forest and keeps Sherwood Forests for themselves. I just think because I know what'll come in 10 years time, 100 years time, there'll be a war, and that's just I just don't want that, lad.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be.
It's the harder route.
It doesn't have to be,
to try and get on, but it's the better route in my opinion.
Bro, it don't have to be a war at all, bro. Trust me, man. It doesn't, you know. I'm telling you, bro. That's why we because we're hesitant so much. Like, I think it would trigger so many people if we said we wanted our own stuff. Like, the whole country would explode. Do you get what I'm trying to show you? Because they can't afford black people to be thinking for themselves. That's what I believe.
Like an uprising.
But then, that to me doesn't put an end to racism, lad. Because you're always in that mindset of black. I'm black, and you're white, and you're white, and I'm black, lad.
No,
I
but
don't go down that route.
Big man, if you're suffering from prejudice because you're a scarce, when you're in the heart of Liverpool, you're gonna suffer less. Talk the truth, bro.
I understand, lad. I understand, lad. I get it, because I even sympathise with making Liverpool. I've argued before about making Liverpool a republic, lad. You know what I mean? I'd kick fucking Southerners out. I'd kick everyone out, lad. But it's not gonna do us any good. You know what I mean? I don't want any Southerners here. You know, I ain't going into like a shop and there's a posh Southerner, and they'll look me up and down. You know what I mean? Snobs, yeah. You'd have people who move up here, Popeye, and they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed of the move they've made. Do you get me? And I stare back and like just stare back at them like, what the fuck? You know, you're embarrassed of my accent, and you come to the city which has this accent. That's why I empathise with loads of things that you say, and I just don't think it's for the greater good. Genuinely don't. But if you do, lads, you do, innit?
Brother, we can try it. We can try it. Would you be up for a trial?
Yeah, I'll be the Liverpool Republic, lad. Yeah, you're doing it, Liverpool.
You know what I mean? Even let's have a go.
Why do you hate Southerners? Is it the accent?
It's the accent. It's the way we're forward.
You could say the accent's a religion, then, couldn't you?
You could do. Yeah,
it's mad though, because it's like saying you could compare it to the Bible. Then you know how like you got different versions of it, the different versions, the different accents.
And it's being encouraged. It's being encouraged to be more in your face as well. So like my grandparents and that, and a lot of grandparents didn't speak like this. What you're hearing now, and I've noticed that the young lads are even more like. It's getting exaggerated more and more, and that's why I sort of see it being that must be being encouraged in some sort of way to our own demise, lads. Let me put it there, to our own demise, which then makes me want the Republic. Then doesn't it? It makes me want to be on our own because we're sort of making ourselves on our own because the accent's getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and we're getting pushed more and more aside. I don't know.
Well, that's what they're doing in London as well. The rich, like all the rich people, are moving into all like the places where no one wanted to live, like Brixton and places like that. And the people are all moving out. Do you know what I mean? And not yappies. That's just rich people. Do you know what I mean? Because it just changed.
Do you think there's a new kind of gentrification that's happening right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
The gentrification. Do you reckon they're trying to
consolidate the middle and the upper classes?
Yeah. You've got like just say there's a road here. On one side of the road there was a school there, Dick Shepherd School. This is up in Tulsa that way, and they knocked the school down and built all like modern houses and that and flats and that. But they only did about 40% council, and the rest was you had to buy them. And across the road is another a big council estate, wholesale estate, and then you're gonna get like people like envy. Of all of that, you know what I mean?
Oh, Popeye, it's quite easy to see in Liverpool because they've moved us out. They've moved the Scouse. They've moved the Scousers out of the city, and then the city is now owned by every other fucker, whether that's a Londoner, whether that's a Brummie. Like if you watch sometimes the news and they speak to people in Liverpool, they won't speak to a Scouser on the news.
No,
they even done it to him. Have you seen the Muller Rights advert?
Even I think that's natural because there's going to be people who's going to take an interest in that because Liverpool's advertised just like Manchester's advertised. I know people who moved from Birmingham. I know people that have moved from Birmingham to other cities and set up businesses there because it's thriving at the minute because that city's being hyped up. So people are going there as opportunists. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. But then the people are forgotten about, aren't they? The people of the community. I still see Liverpool as a community, and
that's what happens.
That's what happens. It back, lad. We're a proud people, and we do need to seize it back.
But that's what happens.
All these exploiters.
Yeah, that's what happens in every borough in London. Exploiters come in the council, and they steal resources. They pinch the resources. Instead of youth centres for the kids to know each other. Because that's how I got to know most of my age group through youth centres. You got me? They replaced it with Kentucky shops, so they're all off licenses.
Yeah.
So they're all outside the off license, or they're all outside the fucking Kentucky, right? Congregating because there ain't no other buildings available.
And then they'll live down the road where their house prices are going up, which
it's stupid, isn't it?
Yeah.
They play the game, lad. They play the game, and we need to get involved in the game because we're smarter than them, because we're more ruthless. We're willing to take more risks. We need to just get into the game. Well, lad, I'll be back in a minute, lad. I've got to go and do some work for once.
Well, you're going on, Robin?
I'll see you in a minute.
All right, see you in a minute. No, they have done that
Big
to
up,
London,
big
made
up
it like a
England, man.
shithole, and then yeah, England's good, right, good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've made London like that, and then they've moved all these little rich kids in. Do you know, like you've got people like that who have bought their houses in the 50s and the 60s, and then they've gone in with a silly offer. They took it, thinking it's a big offer, and then they sold the house at like a 3-bedroom, like a townhouse sort of thing, for fucking $500,000
Can't
or
just
$1 million.
assume it. We definitely can't assume though, because there's definitely a price hike in properties. So people are moving out of bigger cities, going to these other cities now. You know what I mean? That's what kind of promotes migration, is when the prices of certain things go up in certain cities. People are like, why am I staying here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's only logical to move
Too
to a cheaper
expensive.
city. It's only logical, isn't it? Obviously, if you can only make X amount of money and you've got X amount of expenses and it's not adding up, you gotta move to somewhere where it's more affordable, more logical to live. And if that means going to like Liverpool, Manny,
some people-
Birmingham, yeah, man.
Yeah, because some people's rents monthly is like nearly £1,500 in London.
Most people, I've got my yard on a swap site to swap, and most of the people that have made me offers are Londoners. Literally, they want to move out of London. Yeah, man.
It's too expensive down there.
Hi guys. So Jedi, are we
Right.
ready to move with the video? Because I'm really interested to see the rest of this video. Or have you decided not to?
He was walking down the road. Have you seen what happened to him? He was walking down the road and the skis just ran him over.
Yeah, it was a racial attack.
What's that?
I said it was a
Yeah,
racial
of course,
attack.
definitely.
Yeah.
It was
Jedi!
somewhere like that.
I don't think he's around.
That video was a bit distressing still, man. Do you know what I mean?
Especially
Like, it's a
sport
prime
place.
example of what we're facing, isn't it? What we've got to deal with. Yeah. If you're not dealing with it physically like the brother, you're dealing with it metaphorically in your
wrong
mind.
place, wrong time, and
Yeah.
No, but it shouldn't be like that, should it? You should be allowed to walk where you want to walk and not fear anything like that.
It is like that, unfortunately, bro. It is. And the only way we're going to remedy that is if we unite. And unfortunately, the word unite is not.
in a way, it does make you have your guard up about people, like straight up, like. Since I have my wits about everybody now, like straight up, because people could be pretentious, or you never know. Like, I prefer racists that are just straight up racist, because then you know what I want. I don't like the ones that are undercover racist, man.
But now the new age racism's all online, bro. Like, you would get a man on a Friday night call you a nigger and you know who he is and bruck him up quickly and go home. But now it's all online. Man's
You
gonna
seen
call
that
you.
video that I posted in the chat? So some youths in Wolverhampton started abusing some Asian family in the park.
Ah, I saw that video. Yeah, I saw that video.
That happened because literally the social media has turned into a lynch mob. So all you got to do is put someone's video or face on the internet, and boom, next thing you know,
jungle justice. But
but then at the same time, it could be dangerous because some people are malicious and they could just make things up.
You know
people
what?
jump to. I've seen the internet jump to conclusions, and the next day the truth has come out, and another video surfaced, and everyone's like, "Oh, sorry about posting that video, apologizing." And like, that's wrong, bro. Especially if fans have been influenced.
But the Broad Street guy, that video had to get exposed, and that's every single day for a lot of black people.
Obviously, it needs to be dealt with, but. Like, man, it definitely
like
needs to be
all of these videos have to get exposed because every single day.
Did you see the white homeless girl begging?
People need to like analyze everything before they make an action, because people will do something irrational based on that first irrational thing, and then you know what I mean. You know how this works.
Of course, you don't want to jump
one
to
side of a
conclusion.
story.
But at the end of the day, I think every racist needs to get dealt with accordingly. You get what I'm trying to tell you. And the more exposure, Like, I prefer them videos rather than the videos of man getting bruck up. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Because that's fuckery.
I won't.
innit?
So I would
Tell
agree
them
with
and
you.
go
That
to
is
their
the end
front door.
result of that is the
They
end
still got
result
Brook
of
up,
all
man.
the poor
They
men.
still got Brook up.
Like,
Y'all got some.
you see
They
the
got
Broad
Brook.
Street. You see the brother that was just on TV that got an acid attack and run
Yeah,
over and all that.
yeah.
He's the end result of all the words, nigga, and
Wow.
all the
Yeah, man.
hatred.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to show you?
Yeah, and I would agree. I would say that racists do need to be exposed, but from all walks of life. You know.
Man.
Is there always a but
Yeah.
with your? This is it. Like, there's always a but. There's always a but. That means that we've got to talk about racism that white people suffer. And then when you talk about the racism that white people suffer, it's like, oh, some Asian guy called me a white slag on Reels channel, or this man was like, oh, you white, and it's so dead. It's so dead, but it's like you always put them on a pedestal as if they're the same. It's the same dangers, the same issues facing, and it has the same effect on the people that are the victim of the racism. And it doesn't. It doesn't. You totally lose track of the statistics of how many people there even are here. You lose track. Someone gave you it was H that said, well, if you think there's 15% of white people in England are racist and there's only 3% of black people, clearly it's not an equal issue. Even from your own admission. And you couldn't even, it's like every time I want to talk about white people being raped and battered, someone says, oh, but black people get it too. Oh, but it's like that's not fair either. It's constantly not looking at the extremities of what the issue is. It's like when the police force say there's a war on drugs and it's young black men being stopped and searched and arrested and convicted for drug offences. Meanwhile, the statistics show that white people are 10 times more likely to be in possession of a banned substance.
And the biggest consumers as well. And
Right.
the biggest consumers.
And plus, we don't talk about the importers. We don't talk about those that do the importing. Yeah. But we focus on Jermaine on the street corner that's selling some crack or selling some weed. And it's like, no. Yes, drugs is an issue, full stop. But can we chop the head off so the body can fall? Do you actually think that if we could alleviate or minimize the racism that some of these ethnic groups, 5% of the population or 6% of the population may or may not encounter, that would in turn give the ethnic minority an opportunity to stop their racism?
No, I think it's counterproductive.
How?
Right, because what you do is by only focusing on one section, you make the rest of these people resent you, because you're not willing to look. You're not willing to look broad-mindedly. And it's funny that what you accuse me of is what as a group black people are actually doing.
No, they're not. Why don't you deal with the highest percentage of offenders, where the biggest issue is? Why can't we deal with that? Why can't we deal with the most impactful crimes, the most impactful assaults, the most impactful racism? Why can't we look at that as, look, this is our case study, and once we've eradicated that, or we've minimized that, or brought enough attention to that, where people change their ways, we can then go down the ladder and be like, right, you lot think that you're out of the woods. You're not out of the fucking woods. Yeah, you lot are doing exactly the same shit as others. Yeah, we've tackled them. Now we're tackling you. And I believe, yeah, that if
that's interesting.
I believe there was less ethnic minorities that could give you testimonies about racism that they've suffered. There would be less ethnic minorities that were willing to perpetuate racism themselves. Because as it stands, yeah, we still don't have the black community willing to perpetuate racism to combat the racism that they're suffering. It's not happening. You get one or two bad apples. You may have come across them on the live streams or in the street or whatever, but the majority of black people are not willing to become the monster that they're trying to defeat. They're not willing to do that. And the racist black people actually use that as a call to arms. They use that as a reason why you should be more racist. You should be more like me. You should be more segregational or extreme, because you lot welcome every community with open hands, and meanwhile your youngsters are getting run over because they're black. So they use that as a tool. So by no means can you turn around and say, oh, the black people are embracing racism, and they just, it's not like that. There's a small minority, and yes, there may be a small minority that are racist in the white communities or other communities. However, they hold the majority stakehold in the country. So the statistics can never be equal.
Oh, my back is so
right. So your statements are quite correct, but that is exactly what's going on in the white community as well, like you just pointed out. So there are a minority, right? And there's been a big change from 40 years ago, even, let's say, in the white community. The majority.
This incident here didn't happen 40 years ago. This incident that I've kept on the screen deliberately did not happen 40 years ago.
No, I understand that, Jedi.
So coming back 4 decades to prove a point that things are not as bad as 4 decades ago, it's like, yeah, we're not getting paraded around in shackles and being sold on auction. Doesn't mean that racism still doesn't exist.
40 years ago, you weren't being paraded in shackles. So let me finish what I was going to say before you come back at me. So 40 years, there's been vast improvements in this country in race relations with the mindset of white people over the last 40 years. We've got background noise. I don't know why. It might be me bouncing off of someone. But I would say the same thing that you've just said within the black community, we've got going on in the white community. So when the black people become racist towards whites, and it is happening, right? You've got a group of white people at the extreme end who are saying, you see, this is why we shouldn't have them living in the country. This is why they should all be kicked out, etc., etc., etc. And it goes on and it perpetuates. And it goes in a cycle. So everything that you just said, Jedi, I do agree with you, but flip it and it's exactly the same at the extreme end with white people.
But the point I was making is, why do we keep flipping? Why do you keep flipping it? It's exactly the same. Like, flip it, right? It's flip it, flip it. I feel like that there's a lack of. It's like you're worried about white people's racism, British people's racism being highlighted. You're worried about white people.
That doesn't bother me at all.
But every time it's highlighted, you seem to want to hold a mirror up to the black community and be like, oh, you lot do it too. Listen, without fail, every single time the conversation of racism, especially racism against a certain demographic, comes up, you are the first person to say, what happens to white people? Like, as if that's ever been argued. Oh, it happens to white people. Oh, and it's like, okay, but like, dupes, come on, man. Every time deaf people do a march and a parade for equal rights due to how they're treated for being deaf, the blind community come out and be like, oh, but blind people are discriminated against too. How about blind people stand with the deaf people? Yeah, you campaign for them, and then rightfully they will stand by you and campaign for you and stand by your side as brothers in a struggle, comrades. That's how it works. Not just what about us? What about us? Yeah, what happens? It happens to blind people too. It makes the deaf people feel like, hold on, you're only really concerned about what happens to blind people, because if you was concerned, you champion my cause, you'd help me with my cause, you'd be vocal about my cause, and then in turn, I'd see your genuine heart that, you know what, you just want the best for all people, and I would help you in your cause. There's never going to be rallies and massive marches about racism against white people, because it's not that size of a problem. It's just not. And you know it's not.
Okay, so from my point of view, the reason why I'm like I am is because I see it from both sides. Okay, I don't believe standing with one side against an opposing side is the way to go. I think when it comes to racism, like I've explained, all communities can be affected, right? Whether one
Yeah,
community suffers it more or not
yeah.
is I'm not going to get into that at the minute, right?
But they
But what
don't. They don't. But the
all,
fact
all
is, you might not want to get into it, but the fact is, they don't. The white community do not suffer racism on the same scale that black people do. So you're telling Specsavers, yeah, to stop concentrating on visual impairment and start focusing on amputees. Let's all just lump it all together. Let's not concentrate on specifics so we can alleviate specifics. Let's just do a blanket statement, which is not going to be as effective. That's not even logical.
right. So the way I see it is this, right? You gave an analogy of blind people and deaf people.
Right.
It's like saying, right, we're only going to concentrate on deaf people, and blind people, we're not going to look at you because your numbers are lower, and we're just going to concentrate on deaf people. How long do you think it will be before the blind people, right, start getting resentful? And this is what happens.
Why would they resent? Hold on. Why should they resent against the blind people? Against the deaf. They should be resentful against those that are continuing to be prejudice. Thank you. Prejudice against their demographic. In fact, what they should do is stand in solidarity with the deaf people, yeah, and therefore they can increase the effectiveness, because it's like, yo, we stand with you, you stand with us. Simple. We're gonna stand with you, and we're gonna say, you know what, I've seen it. Yes, it does happen, and it's wrong. Rather than
blind people wouldn't.
Rather than in the middle of a rally, in the middle of a speech. Oh well, what about us? No, let's be effective. Let's deal with what we've come out to talk about, what we've come out to tackle today. It's like we can have a blanket forum of racism, sport against racism. So that means whether it's table tennis, football, basketball, we want to stamp out racism. That makes sense. But when it is kick out racism from football, we're going to focus on the racism in football. It's no point someone standing up, shut up, get in your bed. There's no point someone standing up in the middle of a kick racism out of football rally to say, yeah, but it's going on in tennis too. As if.
Okay, so can I come back and you allow me to speak, right? So first of all, I like your analogy. Because I actually think it's deeper than what you realize, because what you're basically, but in some ways it doesn't fit, okay? Because when we're talking about racism applies to both of the groups. But let's imagine that it did fit. What you're essentially saying is that the people that are deaf can't hear the people's voices of the blind, and the blind can't see the racism because they can't see. So that's why I like your analogy, because it's actually deeper. But take that aside. When it comes to racism affects everybody. It's the same problem. It doesn't matter what color you are. And if you only focus on one group, okay, what ends up happening is that the other group that are of the lesser quality being affected,
right,
but needless to say, they are affected, will start getting angry, because it's like, okay, all the implementations are being catered for one part of the community and not for the other. Whereas if you were to have someone that stood up and said, right, I'm against racism, and they profiled pictures like this young lad. I mean, I disagree with Freddie when he said, you know, these images should be taken off of social media. No, they shouldn't. They should be there to remind people exactly what's going on. But if you had this alongside white kids as well that have also suffered, Asian kids that have also suffered, you would more likely get more people to start standing up and saying, actually, racism is still relevant today.
Wow, so that shows that there's a lack of empathy.
Are affected.
Unless you're included, you're not going to be motivated to take a stand. So unless we're talking about table tennis, football, basketball, and all the other sports, windsurfing and all of these other sports, fencing, unless we include them all, we're not going to be able to have an effective campaign on kick racism out of football. because it's a specific issue. It's basically the logic you're coming with, which is so flawed, Jupiter, and just shows a complete lack of empathy.
I was going to say, it's kind of saying like empathy is limited to your own race.
Right. That's not what empathy is.
I disagree. I would say that on the reverse, actually, that what you are saying is that other people are not relevant because their numbers are not as high.
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, if in the south of America, as in Texas and these kind of areas, if they're campaigning to stamp out the Ku Klux Klan because they're lynching people, dragging people by cars, shooting people, burning homes, burning black churches, terrorizing people, vandalizing black businesses and black property, that we should acknowledge to the same degree prejudice against gingers. Because a couple ginger people come up and be like, well, you know what? I was disrespected. I was called a name because of the color of my hair. And we're all supposed to jump in and be like, yeah. Let's champion that to the same degree. It does not work like that. Not to say that the ginger people do not have a... Hold on. 1 second, dude. Not to say the ginger people don't have a case, but clearly it does make a difference when we're dealing with numbers and majority. It makes a difference. You can't ignore, this is just how the world works. Nobody is saying that white people that suffer racism should not have a voice. What we're saying is, why is their voice always competing against the black voices when the black people are talking about their issues? You are making yourself, for some reason, this is what they call victim Olympics. You're making yourself a competition for awareness of the plight of your demographic. And it's very ill-timed. It's very, what's the word can I use? It's just callous. And,
okay, let me put it this way. The reason that I brought up 40 years ago to now is to show that white people in general do make an effort not to be racist. I think most people are not racist in Britain. And I think that they've come a long way. I think it's about time we address the racism that actually comes out of the ethnic minorities that are contributing to the problem and causing the resentment that ultimately does lead to racism later on.
Come on, you're saying the racism of the black community is contributing to the problem of the racism against the black community.
Yes, absolutely.
Come on. What started first? When the Windrush generation came over, what started first? What the Windrush generation's racism or the British people's racism? This is a joke.
It doesn't matter where it started.
It's a joke.
No. It doesn't matter where it started.
It does. Yes, it does. Culpability. Hold on. Culpability. You are creating a formula to say black racism creates racism against blacks. And I'm saying black racism is I'm saying racism from black people is a symptom of them suffering racism in a land where they are 3% of the population. Please, like, argue against that.
Right. So I'm saying that a lot of the racism that comes from the black community is based on what they perceive happened years ago, nothing in their own lifetime, but on rehashed stories, and a lot of those stories are true, not lies. A lot of them are true. But a lot of these people are carrying the weight of things that have happened in the past that didn't even really affect them, and they are still trying to bring that into the present. Modern day racism is not because of the same kind of racism that the Windrush faced. A lot of it now that has come about because of identity politics and the way that the segregation and the separation is being pushed by black nationalists as well as white nationalists.
The black nationalists, let me just tell you something, black nationalists, have a very, very small voice when it comes to the black community. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm going to tell you as a black man, and I challenge you to find a black person in the chats that does not agree. Yeah, even Hector will tell you the voice of black nationalists is not the voice of the black majority. And to the detriment in the eyes of a black nationalist, I told you this earlier, that is to the detriment of the uprising of the black people. The black nationalists want us to all be singing from their hymn sheet, and for some reason we're kumbayaing when they think we should be riding out. And so let's not play that game that the black community is all tuned in to the fucking black nationalists, because they're fucking not. They're just not. They're just.
No, I would agree with you. I would agree with you, Jedi. But nor are
Right.
the community tuned into the white nationalists, so they are the minority too. But your
Right,
argument,
you
your
don't have to be a
argument,
white nationalist to be a racist. You have to be a black nationalist to be a racist, according to the things you've said over the last
no,
3 years.
not quite, not quite,
Yeah,
not.
yeah, major.
No,
That
no,
common
not
experience.
quite.
All right, go on, go for it.
No, not quite. Some black nationalists don't hate on white people. Some people are just black people who are nationalistic to the country that they live in, regardless of where it is. And those people I would call actual patriots. I wouldn't call them nationalists. The ones that, and I've had to start using different terminology, because certain people in the right, there's gradients on the right, and there's actually racists on the left, the far left, are Nazis, for example. So it does become a minefield, and I do understand why lay people get caught up in this language, because I myself get caught up in it, and people that are arguing against it get caught up in it, because there is gradients. But the fact is that there are extremists in the white community as well as in the black community that are pushing for segregation, and they use this. They use this by saying that it's got to be a certain voice that speaks, that it can't be white and black voices standing together and speaking together. It can't be Asian voices standing with white people and black people.
Where have you ever heard black nationalists say that white and black people can't stand together to speak out against racism? Where do they say that? What they say is that they want the opportunity and the resources to be able to fix their own issues and to be able to stand up as a community. That does not mean nobody. Hold on, I've never heard of a black nationalist saying that white people cannot speak about racism against black people. Of course they can. We welcome it. I'm not a black nationalist, but I'm.
Yeah, but I have. I've heard loads of times that even if, for example, I say something, I can make a statement, and people will say that my statement's wrong. A black person comes on, says exactly the same statement, and all of a sudden they're brilliant.
That is so anecdotal. I can't even respond to that. But what I will say is, hearing you being a voice speaking about racism when you clearly lack empathy or understanding, you don't. And this is just like a major running thread with communications with you, Dukes. You refuse to grasp from the perspective of the black community. Rather, you tell everyone that you see it from both sides, and then start talking about, well, let's reverse it, let's flip it, let's turn it around. This is your language. Reversing, flipping, turn it around. Oh, it's the same the other way, rare. So the black community look at you, hear you, and be like, she doesn't have any compassion for what they're going through. She just wants to do the Olympics. She just wants to have everyone on the podium getting a medal. She doesn't want to actually be like, do you know what? Okay, let's focus on this and let's see it through. No, you just want to do comparisons. That's what you want to do. You want to compare the racism that white people suffer to the racism, and it's like no one's interested in that. That's probably why your point of view is taken with less credence. It's because you show time and time again you don't have the skills or the tools to be empathetic and compassionate and understanding about the plight that the black people are trying to tell you about. How many different black people need to tell you this before you think to yourself, rah? You've heard this over and over again, and you point blank refuse to concede, to bend, or even adjust your viewpoint. You are so rigid in the way you see the black experience, it makes you racist. It makes you racist because you are speaking as a white woman, speaking on behalf of black people, but yet you cannot acknowledge what the black people are telling you. So you're not a spokesman for us. You're a spokesman for you.
I don't speak for black people. No.
Why not?
I speak for the wider community. You speak for black people. You speak exclusively for black people. I speak for the community.
Why don't you speak for black people?
Because I speak for the wider community. Okay. You speak for only black people.
Yeah, so you've confirmed what I've said. You will not be a representative. Hold on. You will not be a representative for a black cause or a black perspective, because it's more interest of you. Your interest is to insert your perspective and your view. So you don't care about the victims that you're talking to. You don't care about the victims that are giving you their testimony, because you're only interested in hearing what the wider community has to say. That conversation is not about the wider community. This documentary that we've only got 3 minutes into is not about the wider community. It's not about the racism that Asians face. It's not about the racism that Chinese people face. It's not about the racism that Jewish people face. It's about the racism that young black men are facing, young black women are facing. This is what we're talking about. You cannot stay on that point for longer than 60 seconds before you have to blurt out, reverse, flip, compare. And that's why people analyze that and say, whoa, she clearly lacks compassion. If we go to an AIDS rally and we're talking about AIDS awareness, and I keep talking about autism, I'm clearly really only interested in autism. I'm using the conversation of AIDS as a tool to step up and champion my cause, which then makes you seem unsympathetic. Don't you get like I think it's simple. I don't even think it's a complicated thing. I don't think it's complicated at all. You're just not getting it. You don't want to get it. And this is why people say,
no, I don't see it from just a black perspective, no. Because this is a white country predominantly. And there are white communities. There are also other communities in ethnic minorities that are not black. So no, I don't see racism as just an issue for black people. No, I don't see it for black people. And unfortunately, you can't bend me and make me see what you see. I can listen to what you see.
No one's going to bend you.
I can listen to what you see. I can listen to what you're saying. And that is why I engage with you. It doesn't mean to say that I have to suddenly go, oh, right, yep, I'm going to stand with you, because that's exactly what it is.
Well, sorry, yeah. When you're speaking to an educated man and an intelligent man, and he's articulating in such a fluent manner, and I'm breaking it down to bite-sized portions, baby portions, for anybody that wants to hear, and you cannot grasp it, it makes me come to the educated conclusion that you are willfully ignorant or incapable of being compassionate to other people's plights. If you lack empathy for someone else's plight, but you keep speaking on it, it looks suspicious. No one's trying to bend you or break you. We're trying to have a conversation where intelligence should rule, not your stubborn perspective that you're holding on to, but actually listening to information and computing it, and it should register. This is why conversations take place. No one's asking you to be a turncoat or a race traitor and be like, nah, it's all black or nothing. No, but we're saying with having the opportunity to speak to so many different people with this perspective, you should be able to build on your perspective and widen it. It's rigid, and rigid perspectives usually hold some kind of prejudice, because you're unwilling to soften the borders of what you're seeing, to take in new information, to take in valid information, to take in testimonies, eyewitness accounts, and things of this nature. You're just not interested. It's like, no, I'm going to see it this way, regardless of what the swathes of black people have said to me over the years. Yeah, I'm going to stick this way, because maybe the closest black person to me doesn't agree.
I speak to many.
I rue the day that this incident, happens to somebody you love. I rue that day, because you're gonna be heartbroken, because eventually there'll be a point in time where you ain't gonna be able to deny it, because you are in a relationship with a black man and you have black family. Yeah, there will be, the percentages don't lie. There will be a time where you see it firsthand, and you're gonna have to choose to look the other way and be like, oh well, yeah, but it does happen to white people, Hector. It does happen. What? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? When racism strikes,
me and Hector don't have conversations like that. I would never say to Hector, it does happen to white people. Hector happens to have his own opinions, and they don't stand with yours, and nor do a lot of the people. A lot of the people from Nigeria that I've met that have come to England, and nor do a lot of the people that I grew up with. So
no, come on, Dukes. That feels a little bit of a disingenuous statement, but We got Step Nicely, we got H, we got MJ, all hugging the mute button. Yet again, Jedi and Jupiter, the J's are holding it up. Maybe we can get you lot to say something.
Like I'm kind of like, the thing is, Jupes, I was just thinking the same thing, that this could potentially affect your direct family members. And is that what it is with you? Do you need it to actually affect people that you care about for you to be able to have empathy and understand that the wider impacts that this has?
Right, so MJ, this is what I don't get, right? So people think that because I think that racism affects white people as well, I don't see racism. Is this what you people see?
This is the other thing I'm confused about. Can you, and I know I don't want to do the whataboutism, but as a white person, I'm confused as to what kind of racism we're suffering.
Right, so I believe that because of identity politics and because of the way that this is being promoted as only an issue for black people, because let's remember there's many other ethnic minorities in this country that also suffer racism, that and the way that they've pushed positive discrimination when it wasn't meant to be like that under the Equalities Act, like job discrimination against white people and even white men, because women to some degree get pushed in front of men, right? Because of the positive discrimination and because of the politics on these channels and because of the way that people go on as if racism only affects black people, such as Black Lives Matter, the way they go on with their Marxist agenda, that what you're doing is you're causing a whole huge amount of resentment from normal people that would normally have not been racist, who are now waking up and saying, hold on a minute, there is an anti-white agenda going on here. And there is, whether people want to see it or not. And being pushed further to the right, becoming more extreme, which only fuels to the fire, which causes more black extremists. And then what we do is we end up with more and more division and more segregation. And this is the exact thing that I think, what did we call it, said it earlier, that Ralph knows.
Jupes.
And
Jupes, can you give me an example of a black extremist, please? Like in England.
Okay, that Nation of Islam guy that stands in the park.
Leo Mohammed is a black extremist.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned.
I'll give you an example of a black extremist. The nail bomber. I mean, a white extremist, the nail bomber. That's a white extremist. Compare him to Leo Mohammed. Let me see how the comparison works. What violence has been enacted on white people due to Leo Mohammed and his extremism?
Well, I don't know. I would have to go away and look. I mean, you're asking me a different kind of debate now. You're asking me something for my personal opinion, and then you're saying, right, act like you've got all the details on that and come back and debate.
No. You've just accused the man of being an extremist on live, right? So I'm like, I didn't challenge whether Leo Mohammed was an extremist. I did not challenge it. I said, all right, fair dues. Now let's compare his extremism, whatever you think makes him an extremist, to the nail bomber, who is a white extremist. And you can't. So, like, be very careful with the label that you're throwing around for a man that just speaks and hasn't actually filled up a bomb full of nails and planted it in a heavily white area.
I don't know how many people
to maim and damage them.
Okay, so I don't know how many people that bloke has got into their minds and made them hate white people and what they've done as a result of that. I can't prove that. But what I do know is that he did stand regularly at Hyde Park spewing hate towards white people. So when you say that it doesn't matter, are you saying that snowflakery and emotion and apathy should only be shown to you? Are you saying words don't hurt now? Are you saying that they don't?
I'm saying in this climate, I personally would be very dubious about handing out that label, that mainstream label, that mainstream created label of extremist. I'd be very, very, very dubious of handing that out willy-nilly without concrete evidence. And a man that says the white man is the devil and then goes on to explain what he means by the white man being the devil, as in historically he has been the oppressor and the opposer to freedom worldwide, historically. I don't think you can deny that. You can say that was history, that was in the past, but he's clearly stated on multiple occasions that's what he means. And if he means that,
so for me,
if he means that, unfortunately, that's his perspective. I don't know how that makes him an extremist. I've never heard him call for violence against any other nation. I've never heard him say that, ever.
Okay.
I've met the man. So,
well, I'll tell you why I consider him an extremist. Because
right.
to me, it's anti-white hate, and it's spewing out hate for people that are long dead. That the white people of today in Britain do not resemble the white people that caused the mayhem that they did 200 years ago during slavery or even colonization, which actually did have some pros as well as its major cons. It did have some
pros of
yeah.
colonization.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Right, okay. And unfortunately, how much ill-intentioned, how much well-intentioned it was at the beginning. Okay, it did turn out to be a disaster. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I would want colonization again. I understand why people are affronted by it. But what I am saying is that man stands in Hyde Park talking about British people of today as if they are those people of the past. Those people are dead and buried. You can't pull them up and get accountability off of people of today for those fucking nasty skeletons that are rotting in the ground. And it's about time people realise you can't blame us because you are eating from the same rewards that I eat from, being in Britain, born in Britain. Well, I don't know if you was actually born in Britain, so maybe not you, but a British-born black, born in Britain, eats from the same rewards as the rest of us in Britain.
I don't know about that.
Come on, guys. Come off mute.
If I'm accountable for those people 400 years ago, so are you, if you're born here, if you're black.
Wow.
How would you work that out if we're the descendants and we'd have things like fucking post-traumatic stress? Like, how do these things come into consideration?
Right, so if there's such a thing as
how about that generational wealth that you've accumulated and these things like that?
Right, so if there's such a thing as post-traumatic...
How's that a level playing field?
Okay, so if there's such a thing as post-traumatic stress disorder, then by rights, everybody in the world is suffering it because everybody in the world has been enslaved at one point or another, including white people. And white people, let me finish, white people in Britain, the common people in Britain, not the 1%, the majority of white people in Britain, most of them were not part of the elites that were involved in this. Most of them did not eat from the rewards of it. You might have the institutions that were built up off the back of the wealth that they did, right? That we all eat from, which is what the point I'm making. But apart from that, many of us come from a line of people that were never slave owners, okay? That weren't part of this wealth. That had great suffering in their heritage as well.
Was you
people in the workplaces?
Was your heritage? Was you?
The majority of those Britons at the time could not read or write, and did not understand exactly what the elites were doing or where the money was coming from. But the valid point that I'm making is that everybody born today was not a victim or the perpetrator of what happened 400 years ago. None of us were there. None of us.
Yes,
right.
people.
The thing is, I think I could sit here and I could talk about how Irish people have been oppressed and colonized and invaded and this and that for 800 years. I could also sit here and talk about how Irish people are involved in the slavery and the capturing of black people. Yeah. But today's conversation is about the racism that's happened to this young person that's on the screen, the racism that's happening to black people in particular. And I don't think you can compare it. I don't think you can compare. How I see it is because of the slavery that went on. When black people started to come over here, they were seen, just like the Irish, they were seen as some kind of like lesser as an individual, like you're not as good as us. And that's continued. That's been a continuous thing throughout the decades, throughout the generations, because of the view that like the British white people have on the blacks, and I forget about the Irish, just on the blacks in general. And I don't think like what white people are suffering is significant enough to have like negative consequences and impact on the majority of the community in the same way that it does for the black community.
Don't. Right,
right, so Mary, right, I understand where you're coming from, right? I do understand that too, in a general sense of this video that we're looking at is different to the slavery of the past, right? But I disagree with you that the racism of today is based on all that of the past. I disagree with you. Because if British people were still like that, Mary, you wouldn't be the way you are. I wouldn't be the way I am in love with a black man. The general populace of Britain is not racist, okay? But what the problem that we've got with the race issues at the moment is that we have got two extremities right at the top, right, that are joined together now. And these are the black extremists and the white extremists that have come together with the extreme left, right? And their Marxist ideology as well. And they've thrown in this big mix and it's going against the rest of us. It's causing divisions. And I think that this poor boy is probably one of the victims that has been caught up in all this bollocks. Because what is happening now is we are getting people attacking on both sides. And we can all sit here and say, oh no, it all stems from white on black. But no, there is black on white as well going on. There is Asian violence going on.
Have you ever been attacked?
You need to understand that the extreme have caused this. And that it's the extreme we all need to stand against. Then I'm sorry. And for me, part of that extremity is having the mindset that we should segregate ourselves from the rest of the community and divide and only talk as if we are color coded.
Have you ever been attacked by a black people, by an individual or group of black people?
Yes.
Physically?
Physically or verbally?
Physically?
Oh, physically? No.
All right then. Well, my first flipping incident with racist white happened when I was 4.5 years old, and I was a child running in front of my mum, and there was a white man, one rocker. I used to live in Masonettes, and he sat outside on a hot day, and he was sat with his dog, and he said to his dog, "Get him." This dog chased me and bit me on my leg. But you're trying to, that don't mean that I hate all white people, no. That, you get me? I even grew up with a fear of dogs, hating dogs. But do I blame all dogs? No, I blame the owner. You get me? I blame the owner. You're trying to act like there's not been people with these mindsets out to get us. From man have been young, this system's always been out to get man. Get me? You at certain things, you don't know you're going off what you're talking about. What did I do to that white man? When he's telling his dog, get him, and the dog's lapped around my leg, what did I do to him? Apart from being a child running in front of his mum on a hot day having fun.
Disgusting. I'm not. You see, this is where you get me wrong. I'm not justifying that. I think that's disgusting.
But that's the world we live in, and we just have to get on with it.
But if you were to ask that racist,
sit on a panel and listen to people that
hold on
out the window and that, you get me? These are things that have been played. Then you'll go to a job and you'll encounter racism there. You'll go to school, you get racism there. You get it your fucking life. But to us, it's normal and just get on with it. It's the same, man. Yeah, there's poor. I'm not disputing that there ain't poor white people and this and that. And you get me? And certain ones ain't taken advantage of. But you're not gonna just whitewash everything and throw discredit a man's experiences and that. It don't work like that. The way I feel with you, your issues are more to deal with class than it is with race. And you're bothered about those elite whites and these things, not the whole subject of race.
Okay, well, you're entitled to that opinion. But what I will say,
we tend to focus on the political things that are happening rather than what's actually happening on the streets. What's actually happening to the real people out there, not the people that are just all over TV or YouTube or fucking sitting in Parliament or standing in Speaker's Corner.
Okay, so Mary, what do you mean by that?
I'm saying, like, you know, you're talking about extremists and this and that, but I'm saying, like, the reality is what's happening on the street. That's what we need to focus on, and we can see what's happening. Like, people are being attacked. Black people are being attacked.
On both sides.
Physically.
Yes.
Well, I'm not seeing white people being attacked physically.
Well, they are. And like I explained earlier, last year there was a spate of it, just after Black Lives Matter. It was, and just after Respect went down to Waterloo
There's
as well.
also a spate of
Yeah, well,
racism
we
from
can
white
always like
groups,
pull out little like
especially in
segments
Birmingham.
of this and that, and and then we can ask, well, why did that happen? And you know, that's a whole separate thing. But in general, like what's happening on a daily basis out there, we can see it.
Right. So there's a video in the back.